you know, they call me and then all of a sudden.
I got up this morning at 6:30 or 7. My husband's like, what are you getting up for already? Like, work day. My day at work.
I got up to watch the rocket take off.
Oh.
Well, the funny thing is, I'm usually awake at 5 or 5:30.
I wonder what kind of ripples that brought down the Banana River, that big monstrosity.
It's actually, each state,
Boozers.
yeah, they're smaller than the Saturday.
Oh, really?
But there's, you know, 7 of them, I think.
Yeah.
Please tell
Wait,
me
but you know-
because I screwed that totally.
The smaller ones are just setting up in the orbit.
Oh, it's
They
my
put little
H9.
ripples on the river when they take off. But Dad said when that space shuttle used to take
Yeah,
off.
it smelled very good.
And down there where the campground is, NASA, that's where I was staying. There's a big pier, goes about halfway out into the Banana River, about 2/3 of it.
They get all squishy.
Well, there's control that, they stop you, you can't go up.
I never
but,
complain about.
You know, if you're
being
out there,
there.
you're kind of secure in place. But you know, we go out and stand, clear out there at the end of that pier when it takes off. And there's little ripples, but Dad said there'd be almost waves when the shuttles would take off, because everything was so big and powerful, because the weight goes when they got their long ride. I think that'd be just neat. I've never got to see one of the big ones though. Is that from the new one? I didn't get to go over to the little giant open.
They're open 5 in the morning till 9 at night.
Before we
Really?
get started, I want everybody to know to call Austin back and said that he can say whatever he wants, but that this board will make those decisions. And that the attorney was not supposed to be, he's gonna give us an update on where the trials are or whatever. But Kyle's is the attorney's just gonna tell us what the ordinance kind of is, and we did give him full to, we're not giving 2 feet away from the county, we said that can go to game, we can't change it. So I told Austin, he's exactly where he used to be running a board. So, who's right, who's wrong, it's not this, we're all knowledge of it, or no. If, you know, who's right now, I haven't seen it. This kid, I think, misunderstand.
Hey Stud,
How goes it?
how are you?
Did you?
See, I was watching Fox Business
Yeah.
this morning, and they get carrying on about state and local governments that are using computer stuff and programs
Uh-huh.
that are actually constructed over in China, like that Huawei stuff.
Okay.
Do we have anything that could potentially compromise us ever?
I don't,
Got words. His word counts way up. Sorry.
All right. That's one of the question that I had about something. I mean, not that. Oh, do we have to pay, now that those taxes are delinquent, do we have to pay interest or we don't, we just, we have to pay the interest too?
Yeah.
Okay. But with the interest, we
We
get all
did
that.
pay the
Okay, with
interest.
these, okay, but the county keeps all the, never mind,
Yeah.
it's kind of a moot, but I'm just curious.
Right,
if-
you're
We've
right.
gotta do
if
a
it
better
was just
job.
debated, never mind.
We're paying the interest on. Yeah, well, I don't think we even do that. Did we?
Yeah, we did. We talked about it.
No, I mean, we talked about it earlier, earlier meetings. Yeah, that's what I got. You know, the Heights or Pheasant Forever paid up their portion, that it was more than that until they paid up what they received in closing costs.
You know, I've been surprised that Larry Struck has never come back with that church property. You know, we talked to him and he wanted something abated, but he's never returned or
Right.
anything that I know of, but anyway.
Maybe they found they got money in closing and needed to pay it.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I
a
don't
good
know.
point.
Well, moving on with supervisors report. Well, who's first? Jean?
I'll go.
Okay.
It's budget time for my committee, Rolling Hills, and we're all stressed out greatly. As I think I reported last week, I know maybe I just perhaps I reported last week, that in our subacute that building that we have up in Sioux City, we paid them $289,000 last quarter. All of that was for wages, and we saw no client.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's probably the takeaway from the meeting. The meeting was not as long as they normally are, just because we're planning on getting together next month to really start hammering on how we're gonna do what we have to do. We figure we're gonna be $850,000 short is kind of the preliminary numbers. We
You
have
said you
our,
saved 200 and some thousand in
Yeah.
wages for a quarter and you're gonna be 800,000 short.
for our whole region, and that money that funneled in, and so we all, wonder how, so Dawn went up there to see what the staff is doing, it's not the staff's fault that the state has made it, so impossible for anybody that their criteria meets for what it has to do. And so, but she wanted to know, what the staff is doing. Are they cleaning? Are they, studying? Are they, well, the head person was there to let her in. And then just one other staff was there, and she is actually studying for some classes that she's going to take that's going to help her in her job going forward. But in order, in everybody's defense, in order for us to stay viable, we have to have that therapist on staff. We have to have everybody on staff so that when that person that made it through the criteria of how you can get in, that we have the people available. So we can't put them on unemployment. We can't fire them. We have to leave them on staff to stay viable as a core service. We're required to provide that. Yes, Jerry, you have a question.
So where was everybody else at?
Dawn didn't know for sure. They're out doing something, she hopes, but we're all gonna go up there. It's just one of those things that we didn't really see coming with the state taking over.
Absolutely.
We knew there would be some hiccups. We all worried about that from the time we heard the state was taken over. But we did not foresee a big building that we bought and remodeled, because we had to have it as a core service in order to be performance-based, valued with them that were performing. And so when this report hits the state, but this, you read through this, and I think the key part of it always is, these are just a bunch of numbers that we pay somebody to just gather numbers, and they're only good as the numbers. And I was trying to find in amongst all this stuff, and I had it highlighted until this morning when I got here, the number of patients seen in BV, and Crawford County had like half as many seen as in BV County. And I questioned that, and they just kind of said, well, I think the numbers probably aren't right. I'm like, you give me these numbers.
Right, they should be right.
We're and so it's just gonna drop. So, and in everybody's defense, all of this is new to them, how to make it work and how to make it happen. But I can tell you, going forward next month, when we have to really start working on the budget that we have, that the state is giving us, now that we know how those numbers shake out, it will be quite a task. So I'll pass this around.
It sounds very similar to the workforce development fight.
Well,
I mean, it's the same thing. We had people sitting in there not doing much, and
Yeah.
And then the state steps in, right? Steps in and says, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. I said, why didn't we find out about this back here, here, and here,
Yeah.
as opposed to over
Yeah.
here, here, and here?
Yeah.
Well, you don't want anybody scrambling to grab all the money.
Yeah.
What the hell's happening here?
What the problem is that to get in, you can't be too violent. You can't be just getting off of an arrest of any sort. You can't be on certain medications. You can't, there's just what you can and cannot. And so they're struggling with the guidelines and the questions that have to be asked before you can be admitted, to find that perfect person that gets to come in, that meets the criteria. So that was, Sandy from the Humboldt, she came from a different region.
Why is that so restricted? we're trying to help people. I mean, if they're already helped.
My comment was when they finally get clients, they're gonna be overworked with these raises. You know? You're the only person that laughed. Nobody there
Gotta
laughed.
go through that ultimate warrior course. just to
Yeah.
see if you can
So
get-
that's
Sounds
kind of,
like
I'll
you
pass
need to
this
see,
report
yeah.
around for anybody that just loves to look at numbers, how many people we were served, you know,
Found it a long time.
if you really digest it, you know, transportation, service management, it's just a bunch of letters. I really tried to dissect it for you and give you the highlights of it. There are none. There's no highlights. It's just,
All low lights.
yeah, pretty much.
Well, throw a bunch of numbers on papers, talk about it, confuse everybody, and then
So it says, we don't need two critical acts or subacute. So we're gonna look at seriously cutting the block grants that we give them and say, this is how much you have, you know, and then we really want to work on having stepping stones over and they'll be a core service. Those are one of the things that we want,
Yeah.
because that has a waiting list all the time. It's been proven to be a very successful program. And so because it's not a state identified core program, that could be one of the first things that gets cut. And so we really have to get out there in front of it and make sure that that becomes a core.
I was thinking that one's actually
Which
doing
one's that?
something.
We have a waiting
And we're
list.
gonna
Stepping
cut some-
stones over and
Keep something they
yes,
do.
our, we get praises
What?
from the way that Wesco is run.
I think he does.
We do a
The whole
great
staff,
job. If every one of the programs that we have out there was as successful as Crawford County's Wesco, we would probably not have this problem that we have. But I will say it again, in defense of all of these things, it's the state who's mandating and
Really.
has just one stipulation in there that is not exactly working perfectly this first year of them having it.
I
So,
just kind of see a common denominator here. The state makes these core services, so we ended up with the Sac City Hall, and nobody uses that one.
right,
And then we got stepping stones and it's in there with.
Waiting list.
waiting list.
Seems like they make it to where it sounds good on paper, but nobody will ever use them, so
Well, it's,
good lord.
well, and the other resounding thing that we hear is everything's gonna be going to Davenport and Iowa City, you know.
Send everybody across
but-
state, 5-hour trip.
But my
Right,
problem
exactly.
is if I have a family member that is struggling with mental illness, the last thing I want to do is see them put in a car and taken across the state. And they're already, you
I
know, that's just the absolute
When you
wrong
start
answer.
mixing in the rest of the stuff now, just mixing it, it's no different than up there, at the other prison, except, you know, up there where do you go?
Oh, over at, yeah, West Central Eldora.
Yeah,
That's a heck of a
Eldora,
trip.
West Central, well, you know, they're all centrally located. That was part of the fight with us, was between there and there for us, because we had people that wanted to stay and see their kids.
Yeah,
I don't know if they
absolutely.
proved that wrong, but
You know, and so it's just a matter of getting this all put back together the way it needs to be. And everybody knew from the minute that the state was going to take it over. Our concern was always that one person that falls between the cracks while they're figuring it out. You know, how do you get that person's life back when they needed help? I still am not sure if I'm that crazy about their, 988 number that you call if you're thinking about committing suicide. You need to call this number and you're gonna be talking to somebody, you know, in Cedar Rapids, and then they'll determine, and I keep trying to ask them, how many questions do they have to answer before you realize that you need to get somebody locally to that house now? You know, is it 5 questions deep? Is it on the first question, you know, if you've got somebody that, you know, some people just call in, need somebody to talk to. Those people are probably perfect at that. But I can't imagine anybody that's feeling suicidal that's gonna remember, oh yeah, I gotta call that. I think it's a 988 number or what, you know, I'm sitting here now, I'm perfectly sane. I can't think what the number is. I
If they
just
can
have to-
remember all that, they're just,
Okay,
it's just
that
an
is-
attention.
Every say if they are truly,
Just getting
Okay,
rid of
maybe I
truly in the mind
overstepped.
frame of doing that.
Program.
Tell them to stop driving.
Oh, perfect.
Anyway, I can't imagine, being, so down on your luck and you gotta remember you have to call this number. And then somebody that, just is supposedly trained and asking you
And
the
it's
right
supposed to
question.
diagnose you on the phone, so you know
Yes,
where to send you.
absolutely.
Or who
And
to
I've got
send you.
somebody in Crawford County who.
Oh, go right ahead. I have a question when you're
Yeah,
done.
go ahead. I can
I
go
would
on
suggest they
forever.
buy a lot of refrigerator magnets so that people know the
Oh,
number.
they, they
That's the only
got,
place I'd find mine,
they
maybe.
got swag. I know they do, but I just don't think it's out there enough. It's on the website. Okay, let me find my computer. I remember my password into my
so
computer. Yeah,
Do we have a computer?
yeah. Do you have a computer?
Right, or then you have to have internet.
All of these things that weren't very well thought out, and I'm just not loving anything about it. And as you know, we had no control over any of it. We go to the meetings, but I think next month when we really start doing a deep dive into the block grants that we're going to be getting and really interviewing the people running these programs and collecting data, I think we're going to have a better feel on it. This has been a voyage that and the people are vocal on this group, these supervisors. The guy from Carroll, Rich Rubles, has resigned, moving to Humboldt to be closer to his grandchildren. So there'll be a vacancy, and they're thinking Denise will probably step up and be on the mental health.
Oh.
Step. Yeah.
She got a mouth full.
She'll be great.
Welcome. We're all-
Pretty active.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to sit by Rich, now I'll sit by her. And this Sandy Looney from Humboldt has no problem expressing her concerns because the region that she came from, but in everybody's.
Rich is moving?
Yes,
That's news to me. That blows me away.
blew us away too. That was his last meeting. He told us at that meeting.
Well,
But that, and so tomorrow night we have a meeting
Grandkids
with
and
the wellness committee at 4 o'clock. The design people will be there to go over what they're gonna call their final designs, and then at 5:30, the whole board gets together. So Kyle, if you wanted to come to that, you could.
oh,
Yeah,
I got
and then-
past the meeting tomorrow night.
Then we're
2
getting
more years.
together with, it's another
Basta?
community open house at the Boulders for
Financial
people in the
aid.
community to come in. Because we've made some shrinking a little bit, so everybody can kind of see, they saw that original plan and then we had to go back to the drawing board. And then we brought another plan, and so tomorrow we're hoping to kind of firm that up a little bit and where we're at. So along with that, I'm going to ask if we've gotten a letter to take to show that the county's support. Do we have any update on that? Or should I go talk to Colin?
Oh, I just,
Colin was putting it together, wasn't he? I don't have
did
any.
we have him do that or did?
I think.
I think, yeah, he was going to, because we needed to make sure that it
We had
stayed with what our,
Go over there and
Eyes
ask
dotted
him
and our
quick.
T's crossed.
all
Yeah,
right. Don't talk about anything I'll miss till I get back. Go ahead.
okay.
Go ahead, Terry. Start talking.
Jerry?
Well, she told me not to say anything.
Well, she
We don't have
didn't
time
mean
for
it.
that.
No, I guess I didn't have any meetings or anything this week. The only thing what did I want to bring up? Oh, do we need to, it was in the packet. Do we need to talk about putting that soil compaction thing to expend that $600 on the agenda for next week?
We already approved it. didn't we?
Yeah, I
Oh,
thought
we
we approved
approved the
it.
600, okay.
Yeah.
I thought we
approved
did.
it. I'll double check the minutes, but I'm pretty sure we took the action
Okay,
and
because
approved it.
it has to be, we have to send something by the 15th,
Let
needs to be
me,
done, so.
Let me pull up past minutes. I don't know. We've done that a month ago.
At least a month, I think.
Yeah.
Not very much in my notebook currently. Oh, just last week's. We didn't do it last.
This might change some time to come back and that.
That's right.
I'll see. I'll go back. to-
I thought I'm pretty sure we did. I remember we
I
talked
remember
about
we
it and everybody was in
talked
agreement.
Well, what do they want? What do they need?
Doesn't
The-
really
From us.
exact.
Let me see what they need.
$600. And then that's each county's donating
Right.
600.
Where is
to the
that coming
county.
from? I'm
Okay,
just
Iowa-
asking.
Iowa State University is doing the
Where do we
study.
get
No, the $600.
Okay.
Oh, where is it coming out of for ours?
Mhm.
ISAC soil compaction project funding request. We need to let them know. Please notify us of your county's decision by 4 PM on Tuesday, the 15th. And I think you're right. I think we did decide we were gonna
We did.
expend. So I think,
Take it out of my
Where do you
mind.
think?
Okay.
I don't, Seriously, I mean, that's where it's gotta come from, I just take it out of my mileage. I never turn any mileage in, so there's.
I don't either.
I don't think we budget for individual mileage anymore either.
No.
We do a
mass
a
mileage.
schools
Yes.
It's all in the schools
budget.
I went half with Denise when I went to high school.
without looking at our list.
She wanted
It was
reimbursed.
way too much there.
I think we need to apparently send them something back.
Denise.
You think we
All
Yeah,
along anyway.
probably.
did? Bill, where are you?
Since we didn't take the county car.
We still have a county car?
No,
You want one?
White Cadillac? Did we get rid of that?
we can have one. I think I brought you something from, assessor
Cadillac.
office, right? Is he trading in it, or he's getting a new one? I don't know when. Probably gone
Been a
already.
G, right?
I'd have to look at our budget to see where I think. we should look.
Come on, our donut
I
budget.
thought I shared a budget with you guys recently.
You
did.
did,
You
okay,
did.
absolutely, you did.
Probably in my little pack. Paper.
Email.
Oh, was that
Yeah,
an
just this
email?
last week.
It was.
Then I'll have that in my auditor file.
Ooh, I have a special
You have a
file.
special file,
Awesome.
and it's full.
That it is.
Is that all you had there?
That was the main thing at this time that I wanted to bring up. I think everything else falls into, oh,
Agenda item.
except don't forget to do your no before that takes them out.
No,
Oh, I'm the
before
mom
you
here. Usually, don't forget to wear your socks.
go. No,
What?
before you go.
On your computer, there's an IT thing that tests you in your
Yeah,
knowledge
No
of
before is real. It's
phishing and,
test you on.
Yeah.
Oh, we had to do a test in there?
yeah, you have at the end.
Oh, I think I
If you
don't.
feel confident about your knowledge of being safe, you can just go right to the test.
I
You're
don't
right.
think, he
I
said
didn't
it
know
to
you could
me
get
because he
through
wanted to
IT,
keep
know
his
that.
grade level high.
Anyway, that's what I have. I don't have anything else that I can.
When did he send it and when did he send it? under?
Jake, he would have sent it just,
Just today, didn't it?
Well, then I feel better.
8:46 a.m. today. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Oh, yeah, he did say I'll send it out November. And then I looked.
No, normally when I walk in here, my computer just starts bringing stuff in.
Eric?
Yeah, Colin will have that letter for us by the end of the day.
Okay.
Before, do you guys want to look at it before I take it with me?
What's that?
The letter of our support of the 750,000 for the wellness
Do you
center.
have it with you right now? or
He's
no?
gonna have it ready by the end of the day.
Sure, I'd love to see it before
Right.
you leave. Just-
I'll make sure he sends it out to everybody. Just,
I'm not seeing that. We just took
I'm not seeing
action on it.
anything
We
from
must
Jake
just- Maybe we
either.
just discussed it. Supervise.
We might have just discussed it then. So do we need to get that on the minute?
Absolutely, if we're gonna do it.
I think we agreed to.
But then we'll have to also figure out where it's coming, so that the auditor knows where to jerk it out of.
well, should that be something that Summit pays for? Because they're supposed to be paying for everything, you know, our inspectors and all of that.
I would say they would probably dispute this.
$505.
You can always,
Yeah.
600, you can always, what's the worst that can happen until you know?
We could each put a
We'll
hundred,
just keep track of it and when the trickles down, just throw it
But
in.
they need,
it's a thought.
you know,
It has to do
we
with the
still gotta find
inspectors.
somebody, somewhere to come up with the money short term, even if you wanna send them.
Right,
bill to
absolutely.
Summit. They should pay it.
Yeah, we'll have to still have to place
Well-
a kickback.
If it's
Fund
$600 and you take $125
They want it paid right
out of
away, the $600.
I think
Well,
so.
I can look at it.
Additionally,
It's
yeah,
ISAC,
it says,
yes.
I
you know
think
what? Additionally, please notify us. What if I hit please notify us and see what it says? Nah, it doesn't, it's just.
Maybe it was later. Than maybe it was
It's something that's gonna benefit us, whether it's for the pipeline or for the wind turbines or anything in the future, because now we'll know the optimum moisture content of the
Absolutely.
soil for compactions and all that kind of, it's gonna be helpful for all these things.
Did they stop at the 50,000 or has Iowa State given the exact number it's gonna be? 'Cause remember, it was kind of a moving target on exactly.
And I think that since we got our bill, it's probably
Okay,
where it is.
Okay, so
We
is
got a
it
bill on
still,
it though.
is it
We
$505?
got in a bill on it. How much was it?
Well, I think that's what that last paper, when I read through that, it kind of looked, wasn't that kind of like a request for funds?
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't even believe this is,
Well,
That's how I took
typically
it.
are always wrote up, but it looked like one.
all right. I get it
All
on
right.
the agenda so we can approve it,
Yep.
please, and thank you. How come I don't get anything from Jake?
I don't know, you nice to him?
Yes, I'm super
Okay,
nice
well, I don't know why you
to
don't
him,
get it.
super nice.
Guy?
Okay, we'll start with we had the last Thursday, we had the CDC's annual morning breakfast thing where they have their folks up. Mrs. Rowetter, that's her first name.
Chris.
Chris Roeder.
She was the volunteer of the year, and the list of stuff they started going down. I thought she should have probably been the volunteer of the century. She's quite an active lady, does a lot.
She's got a
I
bunch
never
of
knew
ornery
that.
brothers too.
Never seen her at anything.
You really? Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing her at some of the
Sorry,
stuff
Chad.
when the Methodist church was still doing the,
She's a Catholic.
well, but when we were doing the food giveaway thing, especially through
Oh, yeah.
COVID, she was there always, helping.
As the president of the,
Yeah. Hunger fighters, there's the word I was looking for. And I did that all through until they moved it up to the Presbyterian church. Then there was always so many people there. I just kind of got in the way. So I haven't been a lot with
They'll
them.
advertise.
But when it was down at the school, I mean, I helped there a lot. There was a lot of good people there. I actually suggested Warren Hahn, thank you. And I mean, he's a pretty sharp fellow, does a lot of stuff too. Anyway, then they just kind of had typical presentations of all the stuff that we already kind of know about. I mean, as far as how the Tri-City barbecue went and all that, and they still don't have all the exact dollars out back and forth with all the tickets and stuff that they have to deal with, but they did a really good job. It's starting to generate its own income to where it can hopefully start sustaining itself without all of the, and you still have sponsors and stuff, but it's starting to sustain itself more. So that sounded like a really good deal. And I think it's actually becoming a pretty good thing. Hopefully whoever's next is able in the director's seat. Anyway, going on past that, that was one of the things that in our meeting then afterwards. Thank you. Even my own tablet times out too fast. In the meeting, Ignite Denison, that's their new office. That's pretty much all done upstairs. Got a few little trim things to do. Evan's been working on some of that stuff on his own time. They got to finish with the basement, which is where the Ignite, the business developer deal will be downstairs. And he said he's pretty sure he'll have quite a few applications for space down there. So that's good.
Beautiful building.
Yeah, they really, if you haven't been over there to check it out, I mean, when we have new businesses or something coming into the community now and want to meet with our CDC, I mean, we've got a really nice, warm, welcoming and very professional looking facility now. I mean, and they kept some of the more, some historical look to it, like with the bricks and stuff on the sides there. But then it's still got a nice modern look and it's open and airy. I mean, I really like it. I think they did a great job with it.
well, it used to be the fire station.
Yeah.
So we kept that designed to make it kind of look like,
Yeah.
here can still remember that.
Yeah, and it actually is. It's really nice. I mean,
Only Evan would think about drilling through concrete and making a stairway.
but it actually turned out great. I mean, it did. It really did.
Good vision.
They also have a little, I haven't been over there to see what it looks like, but they got a little station set up there to do fingerprints and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And it's called Field Print. You got to be signed up with this company to get it done. But I was asking about it, like my truckers, when they have to go to the ports and stuff, if they have a TWIC card, they don't have to pay for an escort to go in. And so we got to get printed and you got to do an FBI check and all that stuff on your guys. But
It's like getting a pass for your
yeah,
card,
it's just a TWIC card is what they call it.
your ID on your.
Yeah.
When you go
Your
to
little
the
TWIC
airport,
card.
they see that thing that allows you to get
But they do a security check and then there, you gotta have an independent, yeah, and I think you could actually get it done at the sheriff's office too, but, that's where I had mine. Yeah, my fingerprint, I think that's where I had it done, but in any event, they have that available there now. And, they've got a new gift card system called Giverang, and Evan and Mariah found that, and they said it's a lot more efficient and easier to operate, and not near as many fees along with it, so it should be a lot more efficient for our gift cards for around the community. Housing projects, well, guess what? I mean, they've got a couple, that fellow's got a couple houses done, I heard, that's been the new developer.
Yeah, I drove by him last night.
Yeah.
And there, he's,
One on
These are
16th
closed.
up by the,
Do we
they're
know?
both gonna be there. One's at one end and one at the other.
I feel sorry for the person that's building right across from middle school, because if you've ever been up there when they're dropping off or picking up, it's a night, you're gonna be late for work every day.
It
promise
better be
you.
out of there before
Yeah.
the kids go. I've heard
It's
that.
bad.
Do you, I was gonna ask this, you know, because you were on the housing stuff. How often do we look into like them, what do they call them, row condos, row houses? You know, where it's a condo or they're,
Yeah,
where they got some really, I mean, when you drive into the first part of Ames, I mean, it's just, let's just say it's littered with them. I mean, they got all kinds of them. And it looks to me like a nice development, you know, and you've watched like, you know,
you know, ones
Rex,
like we have out by the hospital.
you know, hopefully a little fancier
Okay,
than
there
that.
we
How
go.
about 10th Street? That's been a tremendous, and you don't even talk about it. You don't even know it's there.
I'm just, well,
And
that
I'll
was my
tell you what,
question.
it's
Do they
full all
talk
the
about
time.
doing them very
Not
often?
really, no, we didn't.
See, because that's like a condominium type thing. You can do
Yeah,
it
it
whether
is.
it's a lease or a set for sale thing, you know, and then you have homeowner stuff, but you know, them are pretty darn nice and
They are very nice.
Those seem to be pretty attractive to young.
Yep.
Newly married.
well, and even
couples.
older couples that don't want to have to mess with the yard anymore and then that avail, they might sell a home here in town and,
Well, the ones on 24th Street,
yeah.
Yeah,
those, you never
Condos.
see one of those on the market because word of mouth says somebody's moving and somebody's got what, you know.
That's why I was just thinking, boy, that might be a good thing to exploit, even if, you know, there's a developer that wants to put
The
something.
ones
on
by the hospital, though, have not all been sold.
No.
They're being rented.
No, that's right.
Of
And
the
that's kind of
four, or
why.
there's
I
three
think
there,
that
one
they-
rented, or
They slowed down on them because those, I mean, they were empty for a long, long time.
You
The,
better have a certain taste for those. though.
right.
They were a
right.
little eclectic. I think.
Those were a little over everybody's price point, you know, and so then they're renting them out right now. You know, those to the ones that are up on the top that are all rentals, those have not been a good deal.
Mhm.
And then the ones that are kind of all different, 2 stories.
Yeah.
And then the ones that, so we have all price ranges out there. Part of that is we have all price ranges out there. You have somebody with a 400 or actually a $650,000 house, and right around the corner, we have low rent housing. And so that was not
we
very
don't
well.
discriminate against anybody anywhere.
Yeah, but
You're putting up a house, put up a house.
Okay, I mean, I was
That's
just curious.
That's
No,
I just wondered how, if we'd looked at that, I mean, I just,
our goal was to get our first low to moderate income house and to use some of the funds that were set aside when they did the property down on 10th Street, that particular, the bottom of 10th Street, those apartments, they're all different kind of, that company had to set aside some funds for low to moderate income people that could be used to spear low to moderate housing down the road. That's been sitting there for, I think, 13 years. Has never been touched. And we decided on that housing committee that we're gonna get a house built using those funds. And so we did get that accomplished, got it built, got it sold. So now I'm not on that committee any longer because they have to start saying no to something. And so,
I just wanted to lean on a little of your experience and
Yep.
see if that was something that we'd ever, because I just see them popping up everywhere. You know, I mean, you go down 141, just getting to Des Moines there's new ones
Oh, yeah.
out there. When you get up the top of the hill from the
At
Beaver
Perry?
Run, there's some really nice ones that are, you know, because they're
There's
closer.
the
to-
ones at Perry, those have been changed twice.
I just was curious because it seems to me like they could be beneficial, especially when we're having.
well, you have the supply and demand issue. And so you have a developer willing to, you know, they come to us, the city or the county, and give what they think is important. And there shouldn't need to be much government support on a project that is something we need. So
Exactly.
that's part of that is, does it really belong in front of the housing committee to use government funds to spearhead a project that, you know, is for people that aren't low to moderate income?
Well, I just didn't know what the taste was for that. I mean, that's obviously in my mind, it's something that CDC should be helping work with the housing and as we're gonna be interviewing a new person, I'm starting to work my checklist. I'm on that task force, so for my questions for interview time, I'm starting to come up, mostly development of industry and commercial is probably what I'm spearheading, but
You get the
still the
industry-
housing, you gotta have it to keep the developing on the industry, on the commercial and industrial.
We've always heard that people, you know, come to Denison or looking to bring their CEOs or whatever in, and they can't find a place to live.
Yeah.
And they just decide to relocate someplace
Well, I
else.
know like Wendell Murphy, which is a long time ago in our history, that's where the pigs of Smithfield started from, was Wendell Murphy. Actually, in his community, he built his own gated community for his executives because, and hell, they got a 36-hole golf course inside there and everything, which I don't think we're gonna get that to happen up here, but my point being is, you know, I mean, that was their desperation there, and it was an option that he took, and it actually helped that community of Warsaw down there big time. You know, I mean, all of a sudden there was a Holiday Inn Express there and all kinds of different restaurants popping up, you know, just things that are on the positive side. So, I mean, these are things that I'm thinking about because that's the other thing I was going to bring up is we've I think it's pretty much finished now as far as our job description for the executive director for CDC. We've been working on that. And it seems to be pretty well cleaned up. If there's anything that any of you guys could think of that you'd like to have, that you know, you're wondering, hey, is this on there? Please don't hesitate to bring it up to me and I'll see it. We'll go over it together. And I've got it here on Exhibit B. So, I mean, it's pretty much done though. I mean, it's got all the things that I think it needs to have on there. And then Evan gave us his list of priorities that he wants to get done in the short term here. You know, wants to help with the Ignite Denison thing, get some of that stuff done and help finish getting obviously the Tri-City thing all cleaned up and, you know, as far as finished up with the money, where everything went and how. Mariah, our new office manager, is one of the people who wants to put her name in for director. And so she steps out when we're discussing stuff, and so she doesn't have any unfair advantage, but very sharp young lady. I mean, obviously should be a good consideration. I also talked to Jess out at the college and asked if she was putting her name in the hat. And she said, oh no, I've got stuff to finish at college first, which I do know some of the things she's working on with like a housing thing out there and some different stuff, which I'm pretty excited about expanding the wit in town here. You know, colleges are actually a big part of communities when you have them. You know, so I'd like to see WIT have a bigger presence here, and it educates our younger generation coming into the workforce. So it's a necessary element within the community. So I'm glad to see that she's excited about staying there and working on those
Can
things.
I ask a question while you're still talking about that? Is it gonna be a requirement that they live in our community?
No, in fact, that was one of my biggest things is I wanted to get out there like on Indeed. I wanted to throw this out there. If we have to sort through 200 job applications, I'm fine with that. You know, I want to find somebody that's very oriented at recruiting on various levels, not just, you know, our typical ag industry, but I mean, other things that might fit into our community.
Your
well.
question to Crawford County?
Crawford County, yeah.
Yeah.
Crawford County. They don't even have to live in Crawford County. See,
Well, no, I think that it said in there, as far as living here, I don't.
Crawford County. It's Crawford County.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I would like it to be living here once they've got the job. I mean,
Oh, yeah, no.
No, okay, I see what
It's
you're
kind of
saying.
like.
Yeah, I was
yeah.
waiting to see. if
yeah.
it
no,
was
once they
outside
live
of
here,
the
they should be.
Once they,
city
because
limits of Denison.
originally, years ago, the guy lived in Shelby County. Remember that?
Yeah, no.
Hard to care about a county you didn't
You
live
can
in.
farm from
Well,
there.
it's,
Yeah.
you know more about it if you got footing.
You have an interest in.
No,
Exactly.
once they get
Part
here.
of the team.
Yeah.
Give them.
I'll go through that to make sure that I read that right,
Yes.
but that was
No, you don't have
something
to
that got
live there to
actually brought
apply,
up.
but are you willing, will you be willing to live
I
within?
thought you were talking, are we hiring? Yeah,
No,
we're
no,
wanting to
no,
hire from
sorry,
anywhere,
sorry.
but I think that they should live here. Yeah. And I'll reemphasize that the board thinks that's a very important
Thank
issue.
you.
Yeah, they can't
will.
live in
I'm sure
Strata
they
County
Or anywhere else.
Crawford County Chamber
Yeah.
Development Executive,
It
sorry.
isn't a work from home
I
type of
would-
job with your computer.
No, it's not a work from home job.
No, it surely ain't. Anyway, let's see. Okay, then we're also working on the PTO. Plus, it got brought up that some of them were, getting them moved around to where they're on hourly. There was one person that was on salary that literally shouldn't have been on salary because they weren't in charge of people.
Okay,
And that's one of the stipulations in the federal rules that, you have to be in the hiring, firing position of over at least 2 people or.
Yep.
I can't
In order to
remember all the little
be
details.
salaried.
There was a whole sheet they threw out at us there and I actually took it home and showed it to my wife. So I said, I think we might be wrong on one person in our office too. So anyway, we're getting that all cleaned up too, working on that. And like I said, the PTO policies. That was one of Evan's priorities, getting that done in the very near future. Golf tournament they're talking about actually not doing that anymore because so many use golf tournaments for fundraisers and all the time and energy and, man hours that we put into setting it up and they make $1,000 maybe.
Mhm.
And they said,
So it's
maybe
worth
we
the
do
time.
something, they continue to have certain aspects that utilize our golf course, but not necessarily use a tournament because you got to actually fight for time when you can be on there because a lot of people have them. So they're investigating that. They didn't say they were calling it off yet. But, anyway, that's kind of pretty much all the, so all the projects coming up, winter social, all that stuff, they're working on all those things. That's all stuff here in Denison though, so, all right. And I think that was pretty much all I had for meetings last week. I had a couple calls about, are we gonna reinstate the burn ban and they wanted to know if there were stipulations if they were live in cities. The one person wanted to know if and I said, yeah, same as we had last
Radio
time.
was announced in some, but.
You gotta get a hold of your chief. And if they're doing that, they're fine, so I mean, I think everybody kind of followed the burn ban pretty close.
They
this
just had
time.
the
We had the
fire
fire
ban.
bills, but I think that was what the tractors.
That wasn't intentionally, but.
No, and them are the things that, because those things do pop up, we don't need any intentionally lets, I think that actually when we were discussing it, we're not done with the harvest completely, but I think we probably had, for as dry as it was, I was really worried we'd have more combine fires.
I was impressed on them days when it was really windy,
Mhm.
the number of farmers that just parked everything.
Yeah, so let's not risk.
A lot of them just parked them where they were at in the middle of the field and
Yeah, just.
because they're waiting for the drying to come down farther yet.
Oh, it was plenty dry, it's just that the wind was so terrible some of them days that a spark would have, it would have
It would have been a mess.
been like Missouri burned half a town down.
Yeah, and that's just it. Once one of them goes and it's a wind like that, there's no stopping the sucker.
No, you just will take up and draw a line about 5 miles away and hope you can stop it.
Please don't forget the fundraiser I think it's this Saturday. Was on our thing right there.
The windows and waffle.
The Belgian waffles
Veterans.
them are really good and it's going for a great cause for our older veterans in particular that haven't been to Washington and I'm gonna tell you, if everybody got a chance to go out to Washington and view our mall,
Wow.
if you have, please take a chance in your lifetime to go out there. I mean, as an old vet, there's just little thing. Have you been out there, Terry?
No, I
you
haven't.
should.
I've been out to Washington, but I haven't seen the.
Yeah, I mean, when you go, like when I was over by the Korean Memorial there and all them, they got the statues of the troops that are walking through the field supposedly, and they're heading towards the Washington Monument is the direction they're going, and they're pointed right at it. And I thought that was kind of cool, but I really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it until I went over to the Vietnam Memorial, and that's actually designed to be a page out of a book. All right, this is just a page, right there's the center. And it was the evening and all the lights are coming off of the World War II Memorial and the Washington Monument. And I thought that'd be a cool picture to just get down there and take a picture up along the edge of that. And so I did that and I got there and I go, oh my God, it's pointed right at the Washington Monument. So all of our troops are either right under the Washington Monument like World War II, where we're all heading back to the original commander in chief. And so there I stand with a tear in my eye. I mean, it's just all that's so impressive there. So, I mean, this is the things that these guys, they'll relive that too. I mean, it'll be that important. But you see old guys that are Vietnam era, and they're holding their hand on somebody's name on the wall, and they're with papers tracing and stuff. I mean, so it's pretty darn important, I think. So, I mean, if we can give them an opportunity they just fly out there and back the same day. I mean, it's a rat race for them. And some of these old guys are old guys.
They get a escort by the.
Yeah, like
police
Senator
department.
Ernst. If we have Iowa flights out there, Senator Ernst in particular always meets them out there.
So you're saying this money is going to be used for honor flights?
Yep, sure is. Okay, and let's see, CDC. Have we had the ribbon cutting at that bakery? Kyle brought all these goodies
He's on some
in.
pastry.
Yeah,
We bought, it's like a double dip day.
Yeah.
I used to have perfect attendance at ribbon cuttings when I worked uptown.
I like going to them too. I didn't get to this one because I had to be in Des Moines that morning, but that went really, really well. I didn't get to early childhood. Gina, was there anything important in
I
that?
got there as they were walking out. And I got there 4 after.
Yeah, that's a quick meeting. It's almost,
It's,
we should probably start having them only as needed.
I think so, or just have a little zoom in from here,
Yeah,
because we
we could-
were still at the courthouse at
Yeah.
12 last time.
And let's see. No, and then Iowa SCOTUS, I didn't get to that night either.
did.
Did you get to go to it? Please tell us. I've talked to a few people and Jennifer's up in one of them. She said it was amazing.
It was very good. They just, the 9 came in, just sat at a conference long table, and the state presented their case, and then the gal that was defending the fellow that had been picked up for OWI, and the question was, I'm trying to think of the term for it, implied consent.
Yep.
He didn't speak a lot of English, and so there was a little language barrier there. The officer had tried to get a hold of a language link. He had tried to Google an interpretive type of,
Yep.
couldn't get that done. So they hashed that over. State talked, defendant talked, state got a chance to rebuttal. They listened to it. They will take it back and render a decision in 90 days. It's very interesting.
Come on
Yeah.
now.
Look what we
Sounded
got
like
for
it.
you there,
Sorry, I
Paul.
was gonna say,
there's a reason why that's right in
front of me.
Anyway,
Everybody
thanks.
up.
I look like I.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did have a little slice of that earlier. It's really good.
The rest of the officer God bless you. So he's looking a little.
Spoke a little
Yeah,
bit.
sure. Go ahead, next. You got it.
Yeah, I got an extra. There you go.
Sorry.
You didn't go to that. It was interesting. I hope they come back.
Oh,
Not a lot.
your concrete poured?
Yes, it turned out perfect.
Awesome.
And now they're working on the rails, so, I mean, honestly, this is a really good time of the year to do that. You know, just do not do it in the heat of the summer when it's 95 degrees, so.
Doesn't dry too fast. Just
Well,
dry
yeah,
just
you're gonna
right.
get too much heat. So here you can kind of, cover it up with insulation and kind of blanket it. So yeah, it turned out really good. Murphy's a good contractor. I think they had their entire fleet there, or their entire company. There was about 17, 18 guys there for the war, and it went well.
Good.
Yeah,
Like.
and the nice thing is Concrete Supply of Iowa, they supplied the concrete, and their guy was there the whole time, monitoring, because we had to measure air content slump, you're controlling the mix. And so they're there to help make the decisions if there is something that comes up that's kind of unusual. And so always nice to have that there, that quality
You bet.
control. So it went real well. So yeah, they're working on the concrete bridge rail right now, forming that up, and right, hopefully pour that yet this week, and some little riprap and some shaping, and we're out of there. So
I don't think this bridge probably won't have a guardrail on it, no.
we don't put guardrail on any gravel roads anymore.
But I've been meaning to ask you, because the new county line bridge that they redid it between Monona and Crawford on the, the guardrails used to slope back. These are perfectly parallel with the road.
Turn.
Is there a new
Now,
standard for that?
where is this at?
on 141 at the Monona Crawford County line.
Yeah, yeah, the standard doesn't flare out. It's basically a collapsible rail.
Well, it looks to me like you got an 18-inch chance of hitting it.
Yeah.
So you're either gonna stay on the highway or going on the trip.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
I
well,
guess it'll save on
Yeah.
replacing guardrails.
yeah. You know, there's been guardrail standards have changed so
Must
much.
be,
They're
huh?
always changing because they crash test them, you
Yeah.
know, and all this. So on gravel roads, we just don't do them. We have kind of a hybrid. It's a rounded end post, you know, and so it works pretty well for us. But out here on Donna Reed Road, when we replaced the guardrail, we did that overlay, that widening. I mean, it was a week after we had it, somebody hit it. Damaged it. But I mean, there's a lot of theory there that, you know, if they're too low, the vehicles go up and over. If they're too high, it goes through the windshield. If it's not at the right angle, you know, it either kicks them into traffic, oncoming traffic. You don't want that. You want it to just, you want it when it hits it, that to dampen it and slow it down. Kind of like vehicles anymore. Vehicles now they're designed to basically buckle,
Mhm.
you know, to dampen the crash.
Yeah.
And so, so there've been a lot of different thoughts and
Okay,
engineering on that. So, yeah, it's more, it's not as at the severe angle that it used to be.
makes sense. Get people in the oncoming traffic.
Gets them into the traffic. Yeah, you just don't want them to get the end of the bridge. That's all we're trying to do. So trying to keep them from hitting the end of the bridge. So it's, you know, it's an immediate impact. You know, it was interesting. I just shared just a brief story. And this one, I don't think I'll ever forget. But I was at that multidisciplinary traffic safety meeting last week up in Storm Lake, and basically have law enforcement. They have engineering, they have emergency management people. Their Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau. It's a really good program because it talks about safety and how to make our roads safer. At the end of the day, I mean, I've got a whole file cabinet full of fatalities on a road since I've been here, and that's not something I'm pretty proud of. It's just factual. But all of those happen for one of three reasons: either speed, impaired driver, or distracted driver. Every single one of them had nothing to do with the roadway. And that's typically what happens. But anyhow, they were talking about this incident that just happened this summer in Davenport or Dubuque, I think it was, Dubuque or Davenport. 3 teenagers in a 2014 Camaro.
100 miles.
That
Yeah.
already sounds dangerous.
Yeah, so one 18-year-old male was driving, 2 females are driving, and it's dark, and they're going down a 4-lane, you know, they're going this direction. A deputy going this direction, clocks them at 92, turns around and follow them. Of course, they speed up instead of stopping, and the one girl takes a Snapchat, sends it to somebody that they're being followed by the cops. And a few minutes later, one of the other mothers gets a Life 360 notification that their daughter's in a car going 146 miles an hour.
Oh, my Lord.
Deputy reports to the comm center. He said, "I've lost them." He said, "I think you just passed them. They missed a curve because they shut their lights off."
Oh, my
Smacked right
Lord.
into a concrete wall going 150 miles an hour.
Oh, goodness gracious.
So that one I'll never forget, you know, and it's just senseless. And, you know, so, and the other thing that struck me was really interesting was the number of people that get citations for going over 100 miles an hour. Shocking. And it's gone up like almost triple since 2019. The people driving faster than 100 miles an hour. You know what the highest citation was
You guys
so
got
far
it.
this year?
No.
179.
162 miles an
Oh, my
hour.
Lord.
Can you imagine driving
No.
on the interstate going 162 miles an hour?
No.
And there's one. in
That's worse than the
100
group. That's almost
Yeah.
worse than the group of guys on
Yeah.
motorcycles
So,
down the interstate.
so, you know, for me, you know, it's like, wow, that's fast,
Mhm.
That's bad.
you know, and so, you know, so it's a real challenge for law enforcement, how to address the problematic, you know, speeding and.
Sadly, most of the people that are doing that have got the least amount of experience. Mostly.
Probably, or could be in a lot of cases, but you know, these young.
I
people,
remember JR Quant. And what was he, like 100 something that one time, Russ?
Yeah.
I mean, young kid.
Mm,
You know, that's why that's my point is,
Yeah.
a lot of times it's a young kid out
yeah,
testing his salt.
yeah, and you know, this young,
Or
at least 3 young kids, I mean, by all accounts, I mean, there's no good reason
I
why
could
they
tell
should
you
get.
my like.
But anyhow,
360 experience.
don't want to take a lot of your time, but it was just, some of the information that was provided was presented, you know. And we've done a lot of safety things and we continue, we pave our shoulders, we're paving and widening, and we're using rumble strips and chevrons, we're putting the reflective strips on. We're just trying to do a number of things that, hopefully make our roads safer.
Isn't that something that Life 360 could tell that mom how fast their child was
Can you
going?
imagine the mother?
I've had a Life 360,
Mhm.
believe it or not, with my grandson's driving my old Prius.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah,
a-
yeah.
He's got
And I mean, I don't know what
There's
you do when
programs
you
out
get the
there.
alert
You
because,
call them and say what.
well, but do you want them answering the phone when they're going 146 miles an hour? I don't know. I mean,
Well,
it's
the
just,
other one wasn't driving. There was
Yeah.
two in, so I took the one
Yeah.
that wasn't driving.
I mean, when I was a teenager, I had three times that I remember by all accounts we should have been dead.
Yep.
And so I can experience, I can speak from firsthand experience, and I wasn't driving either in any of those three.
Yep.
But it happens unfortunately. Anyhow,
Life 360.
yeah, so basically I don't have a whole lot of new stuff to report here. The bridge is going well. We talked about that, the grading, they'll be done, haven't loaded this week and move on to the next
Isn't
one.
this weather awesome?
It is, yeah.
Oh,
The-
we
the-
need
Yeah.
rain.
We need rain. The soil is
Well,
extremely dry.
Tomorrow? No.
But anyhow,
Sounds like the new
Yeah.
earth mover's doing a good job. Do we need new tires? I'm hearing about
They
tires.
love the scraper. We need more weight, new tires on the back of the tractor.
That's what I'm gonna hear.
Light-
It's like when
light
you buy new,
tires.
it's like when you buy new kick curtains for your living room, you gotta buy new furniture.
Yeah.
So the curtains look really great, but boy, it would be nice to have.
Get them some tire change. We got some graders out there.
We'll probably get some weight and some new tires for it this winter. Yeah, so, but it has been a good investment for us.
And he said it really packs the roads down good too. when
Yeah.
they-
They run that up and down. And so, yeah, they like it. Roadside should be done soon. With that, Verdine's kind of the last man standing, so we'll finish that up. New motor graders and trucks should be delivered soon. I just talked to Brent. Sometime maybe this week we'll get one. The dump trucks are supposed to be coming out. The salesman for Housby is actually coming out today to visit with me. I offered him to come talk to the board because the price is going to be higher than what we had signed the agreement for last year. And I said,
Well, I thought it was gonna be the same.
well, I did too. But it's not. Yeah, so.
Very disappointing.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I said, well, why don't you just come and talk to the board?
Could have bought a Peterbilt
Because I-
truck if they were gonna charge you more. I knew that. They counted that.
Yeah, but anyhow, $7,500 a truck is what they're talking about. And I said, well, that ain't happening. So he said, well, we'll come out and talk. So we'll see. I said, honestly, at the end of the day, I gotta take it to the board. I gotta answer to auditors. Why is the price higher? But it's happening all over the state. We're not alone here. And I told them, I said, CAT has held their price.
Yeah.
Okay, the dump body, the Hawkeye truck that's putting the dump body on,
They make dump trucks too.
they held their price.
Mhm.
I said, you're the only ones that aren't holding your price.
Yeah.
And so, but everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it all across the state. They're not alone. We just gotta figure out how to negotiate. At the end of the day, here's the way I look at it. This, whether it's the guy I buy steel piling from, or the guy I buy corrugated metal pipe or seed or trucks or whatever. They've been good partners all along. We're in uncharted territory. We try to work through it,
But let me ask you this too.
So,
Since we know that there's threats on the East Coast of the diesel shortage. I mean, are we gonna start taking into precautions and not letting our barrels get below so much?
I'm gonna talk to our suppliers, because I heard something last night, and somebody sent me something again this morning. I'm gonna talk to them and get their sense of.
I'm not hearing anything about gas. It's mostly just
It's
diesel.
diesel, and, we burn 180,000
Well,
gallons. of
we're
diesel
gonna need
every
it to
year.
move snow off the road.
Yeah. So, there's only so much we can do other than, try to keep the tanks, half or, more, which, we'll take a look at it down here. I mean, we try to get it down to a couple of thousand gallons because we want to take a whole tanker full.
Mhm.
It works well that way.
Yeah, I understand.
We could try to lock in prices, but then something globally happens and all of a sudden prices plummet and then you're sitting with a bunch of $5. I don't know.
I get it. That's why I'm asking her.
Yeah, so I'll talk to the suppliers. Again, we're not alone on an island here. Okay, there's 99 counties and 900 cities in the state of Iowa, and there's all these counties and cities across the country that are all going to be facing the same challenges that we are. And then you just hope that at some other level besides us, that somebody's saying, hey, we're gonna try to make sure that the, critical public services get taken care of first, that there's diesel for the ambulances, there's diesel for the fire trucks, that there's diesel for the people that remove snow. I'd like to think that level of engagement would happen if we get to that point. So that's why, Ty, to your point, we aren't alone. Sometimes if you take actions, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you go out and try to hoard it and everybody does the same thing, well, then obviously you're gonna have a shortage. Everybody's gonna, it's kind of like toilet paper and COVID. There's no good reason for it. I mean, there really wasn't, there was no good reason for any of
Never
that.
understand that
But,
one.
my daughter worked in Target. She sent me pictures of the toilet paper. It was
Yeah.
gone. As soon as it come in, gone.
Where'd it go?
Yeah, to
Same
people's
place as all the
closets. They had-
employees,
they had, 2 years worth.
They were wanting to return it after COVID too. I'd said.
Yeah.
Return.
So my point is that some things are beyond our control, and you just have to hope that,
Priorities.
we'll watch it, we'll take measured actions, but I don't want to do something crazy either.
No, I don't think we need to, but I just wondered
But
what we had, if there was a plan on ours and higher levels.
Yeah.
You know, because you think
don't
about
know
it,
anything right now.
what of our emergency services doesn't run on diesel right now?
Yeah,
I mean, even our little brush fire, well, yeah, most of them are even diesel, aren't they?
almost everything emergency services, everything is diesel. Pickups.
You for sure don't want electric.
Yeah, well,
No.
it depends on where you're at.
Yeah.
I mean, electric probably has its place, but I think there's some.
It ain't in Iowa where it's gonna go cold and the batteries up.
There's just some real challenges with electric. All the way from what do you charge, So, but anyhow, the 2 bridges, the city of Vail did get awarded some bridge money, city bridge money.
Oh, really?
The Trust Bridge, and the city of Denison was awarded some money for the over the UP Railroad, which is now posted. I don't remember the first.
That's the
number,
Donna
but it's
Reed one?
40. It's the Donna Reed one at 40/40, which restricts that semis to 80,000 pounds as opposed to the governor allowing the 90,000 pounds. So they're gonna have to carry lighter loads in order to be legal going across that bridge now until that's replaced. And so what I proposed to the city, we met out there with the consultant, took a look at it, is that after the election, we'll get together with the kind of a work group of a couple of board members, a couple of city council members, city manager, myself, and talk about, how are we gonna move that forward? Because I did receive some funding.
They want to widen it?
I need to replace.
I don't think there's any point to discuss what's gonna happen at this
Okay, I'm
point.
sorry.
I don't want to get into that discussion. I'm just saying that I think it's prudent because it's the city's bridge,
Yeah.
but it's
Our
our
system.
connection to Highway 30. So I think the best thing to do is to get a working group together and talk about how we're gonna move forward, try to get the bridge replaced.
Can I
Because
ask
it's gonna
a
need
question? When they were taking all that dirt out to put out there on Chewy's property,
And no impact at all.
none, would that, I don't really know enough about tonnage, would those trucks still be able to go over the new weight that's out there if they were still doing that?
At 80,000
At
pounds.
80,000? What do you think those trucks were? Just.
Don't know.
ballpark.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But you can
Like-
carry a semi, a 5-axle semi with 80,000 pounds across that bridge.
Okay.
What you can't carry is the 90,000 pounds when the governor does the grain deal.
Yeah, but she does that on an 80,000 pound truck. These, most all the Chewies are actually 90,000 pound trucks, but they're also axled for 90,000 pounds.
Right.
Which has got an extra axle, and it's
Okay,
got
yeah.
a 10-1 bridge span.
So a semi, a lot of the semis have gone to the 96,000 pounds, which is triple axle on your trailer, triple axle on the rear of your semi, and a single steer axle. They can go up to 96,000 pounds. They can no longer cross that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just kind
Loaded to 96,000. They can go over there with 80,000, but it isn't to full capacity.
but who's gonna actually, and I know this is off the subject a little bit,
And white bands. Or the-
who's actually going to know, somebody's going across
Gene, it's
it?
the same way on all of our.
Okay, I
bridges out
guess I
there.
got it, but
What you have to do is the person that's actually running the vehicle has to know that if there's a motor vehicle enforcement officer sitting on the other side and you go across that, and he
Okay.
stops you and you're 10,000 pounds over,
okay,
That's
you're gonna
exactly
get,
fine.
you're gonna get a huge fine.
huge, okay. I just,
Okay?
it's kind
So
of
that's
a
how it
new
works.
concept to me and I
It's
had
the threat. It's like people driving
38,
70 miles an hour on the interstate when the speed limit is 65.
Yeah.
If you happen, the threat of getting caught is the only deterrent you have.
kind of like having your windows too tinted.
But if they know, yeah.
And then you hope
Yeah.
that, you hope that they're
Is
good
that too
stewards,
timid?
because if you exceed the load limit by too much, there could be some significant
Yeah,
damage done to the bridge.
Mhm.
It's a deterioration issue is
Right.
what it is. It hasn't been.
It is amazing when you talk to the scale operators at some of these co-ops, what some people consistently haul this time of year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
EBB way over.
126,000.
110, I don't know, yeah.
I've heard some 122,000 rolling across the scale.
Jeepers,
Yeah.
yeah,
Where
I
do you
just- I
watch
just
that Arcadia one up
being
there? I know
educated
that.
on that.
90,000 when you start to go, some of these guys.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Windrow
that's how
that
it works,
big
Gene.
53,
Just
you know,
kinda,
foot
you know,
trailer,
education.
they windrow it front to back.
yep.
Yep. So anyhow.
What else? Anything?
The concrete testing of the bathroom remodel, Terry sent the proposal down, and I said, you know, I looked at it, and then I talked to one of the gentlemen up there at Certified Testing. I said, hey, you know, we can do a slump and air test. We do them all the time for DOT, which is every bit as critical as this. And, you know, if we were around, if it coordinate, we can help do some of that to maybe reduce the cost. Yeah, because we're right here.
Yeah.
We just walk up and they can get us the plastic cylinders. We don't have a way to test those, but we can certainly do the concrete testing. Right, the air and the slump and cast those cylinders, and they can come up with them.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
if it works out in our schedule, we, you know, we've got somebody here, and that's what I told him. He said, yes, no problem. He said,
We'll pick a nice.
just pay us
day.
for what we do.
Very good.
You know, he said, that's, there. You can approve the agreement. And he said, our agreement will be just whatever we do, we'll bill for. And so if it works out, we'll help out. If it doesn't, I said, you guys will just have to. do what you're supposed to do.
Got it.
So,
Thanks.
Okay, nice.
sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Do you want me up here for the McMenamy discussion? I mean,
May not hurt for you to-
Yeah, I don't really, I'm not gonna say anything
I don't
other,
like-
Right, just
other than
observe.
it's in the hands of legal counsel. That's the only comment I'll make.
Yep.
Yep, and I did.
Colin's gonna be here
Yeah.
at 11:15.
Yeah, so I mean, I can come back up and I can sit and listen, but I
It's
don't.
gonna be very,
Yep, we're just.
Yeah.
giving them
Limited
an opportunity
discussion.
to
Yeah.
say, no,
Yeah.
I called him, said it's not.
Nothing that
gonna
would
be
compromise.
just
Yeah,
Nothing.
I just
that-
can't weigh in on it.
Right, right, neither will,
At this
neither will
point.
we. So
Okay,
just give him a chance to tell,
Kind of staying for.
sure,
that's all it is.
sounds good. Okay,
All
thank you.
right, thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thanks, Paul.
I know my turn is up, but when you guys looked through this, these are things I'm gonna follow up on. Plains Area Mental Health, their salaries and wages, you know, total salaries and related expenses, 9,625,595. I'd really like to know how many clients and customers that is servicing. At the end of it, you know, 12,334,000 is their total expenses. Based on what I've seen, what we just reported on, I'm gonna follow up on that, kind of try to figure out if this is really working, because that just
Thank you.
seems outrageous for,
The numbers, don't the numbers go up because of Sioux City?
not in this one.
Not in that
Not
one.
in this
No.
one, yeah. So I just kind of wanted to point that out, so you know where I'm getting my, see just what that's all about. That seems, it's up 1.5 million in
Wow.
wages.
That's up a lot. $1,500,000.
Just a little.
Hmm.
Those are the things I key in on all those kind of reports. And I just need to know.
Thanks.
Since it isn't 10:15 yet.
Cal, we didn't give you a chance to talk. What do you know?
Yeah, lay it on us. What do you know?
Got done combining, putting on hiders on. The ground is hard.
I'll bet it is.
We went through like 20 shear bolts in 100 acres.
Wow.
Last year we went through 3. Over 1,000 acres.
On his thing, I forgot again. I know I'd mentioned this to you about the out there at the cemetery. If you ever get a chance, you want to see a cemetery in full bloom, that's where you go. They're putting concrete in on a trail that goes all the way around. There's a spot up on top. There'll be a buildup concrete, just like a bench, big long bench, and then behind that, it's gonna be flags for all our services. And,
Which
it'll be
cemetery?
worth seeing. It's coming along, and it, Okay, our Buck's got the bid on it and all that stuff and getting that done.
Out of the one up here on
This
the loop.
is, yeah, it's on the loop out there. It's up towards the end. It's where the little
Crawford
house
Heights.
is. That's at the other end.
Oh, the other.
Oakwood,
Oakwood.
There you
Still
go.
what- Then they have the cemetery. We're trying to get the thing fixed. But I tell you what, it is nice to see. It's been really built up and they said, well, we're not done yet. But I says, it looks like $1 million compared to what it used to be. So
Good.
that's pretty much what we're gonna get spent on.
check it out.
It's worth seeing, just drive through.
Well, Buck's retirement's been good for our cemetery.
What's that?
Him and James Saylor both retired now, and they've been out there setting all of our stones and
Oh.
stuff again.
Yeah.
So they'll be opening up new areas.
Speaking of safe roads and hitting guardrails, did you catch the end of the race at Martinsville?
I gave up on NASCAR.
That Ross Chastain, they were at Martinsville. He had to make up 5 places to get into the final 4 for the race there in Phoenix. He actually used the outside wall of and he just floored that sucker and just held it against the outside wall and run around and got 5 places and made it. That's the craziest damn thing I've ever seen in my life.
So that money for that compaction
Not
thing,
very safe.
can we take that out of general services? I mean, I don't know how much money's there, but this is my thought. I would rather see us, in my opinion, the budget's like a big old pair of pants. It's got all these pockets in it. Well, I would have no problem taking it out of like supervisors' expenses and stuff. But then when you go to redo the budget, it kind of miscues what, if you're looking at the previous year, what actually happened. And I guess my thought is if we have money at all in general services and we can take it out of there, fine. If we can't, I just think at the end of the year, we may have to amend this budget again. I just soon take it out of there or somewhere else. It's just, in my opinion, that's the pocket it should come.
Does it make any
possibly
sense
out of.
taking it out of supervisors' expenses?
Well,
That's not, that's.
We can do it if there's money there. There's that, there may be a surplus, but then I think when you go to do next year's budget, it inflates that number that you're looking at unless you think, oh, that's where we took that $600 from. I would rather take it out of a different pocket
I would,
and we'll be long one maybe and short another.
but here we are questioning $505,
I thought it
right?
was $600.
Oh.
But
600,
505, whatever,
okay.
no more than
600, thank
But,
you.
you know,
Yes, you're right.
It shouldn't be rocket science to do something so good for the county, $600. Where does that come from? You know? It should
Well, I was
be-
just looking at like.
General
I don't think anybody's questioning the
Claims.
amount.
You
They're
got-
just
No.
questioning which pocket we should get it out.
The only thing, spur discussion, general service is fine, but with all that's going on next year, we probably maybe had a better budget some
You
money
got some new
for
people
legal.
coming in.
Excuse me?
Correct,
Some new people.
correct.
also.
Or is there a,
Two
or is there
three.
something set up in the budgeting that it could be taken out? I mean, it could come out of supervisors, but it would be taken out of, instead of
Good
taking out of board proceedings or mileage or
Wouldn't it-
meeting expense or whatever.
But here's the deal with that line items, you know, if you're taking expense for towers out of mileage for supervisors, that doesn't seem like the right pocket for sure. You know, so that's kind of
Right.
that we've had problems with people that have line items and then they just use them how they want to.
I said, maybe we should get.
The reason I said that, because if we got
Right,
money in there,
absolutely.
like
Absolutely.
Right,
$500
No, no, no.
right, no, I
No,
understand.
we're having
exactly what you're saying.
a discussion
well,
on,
Public
what
health
makes
always
sense.
turns money back in. They say, maybe we get to get it.
we pay for it out of public health, or what?
Yeah, I'm sure they'd like that.
Just pay out of flood and erosion, or
Let's
kind of like
all-
flood and erosion. But I mean, that's budgeted.
I know there's just all these different places. I just think it should be more reflective
general
of
services,
what we're actually
right?
doing.
Flood and erosion, it's all out the same. general.
Well, we're kind of doing it so that we've got this for future use for audit ordinances or any other things of that nature, so.
I have a thought. To me, you know, because of the fact that this carbonic pipeline is in the wheelhouse of public health and public safety, and part of this has to do with that, that's not the most ridiculous one we've thought of.
Can we expend that money without the Board of Health's approval?
No,
I think you're right, Jerry, on the general fund.
I agree with general fund.
Something it needs
You
to.
guys, I got 10, 15
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
next thing up.
Yep, I do. So next item on the agenda is discussion family crisis center update of agency. Come on down.
How are we today?
Good, how are you?
It's Tuesday. It's our
It's
favorite day of
beautiful
the
outside.
We should move our meeting up.
I would not oppose that.
All right.
That would be an amazing decision,
We have a boardroom outside too, alternative boardroom.
right?
What
You're
have you been,
welcome. And gals, yeah. All right.
You want a copy, Mike? You got a couple extra copies. don't you?
Yep, I do have extras, absolutely. All right, so I'm with Family Crisis Centers. I've been here the last couple of years. I like to start off with our sheet. I always like to point out that these are more than obviously statistics. These are Crawford County residents and families that have been impacted negatively by domestic violence. Yes.
For the record, will you give us your name so that people listening out in Cyberland can
Hey, yeah.
understand who you are?
Yes, Michelle Carlson
Thank
with
you.
Family Crisis Centers. Sorry.
No, thank you
I
very
didn't
much.
even think about the TV.
Well. We forget about it sometimes too, so.
Yeah, so in the last year, we've served 51 clients for domestic violence. That's about one a week that come in new here in Crawford County. We've also done we do homicide and violent crimes, so that's 26. So that's about every other week we get a new one here in Crawford County. We've had a lot. We had
For homicide and violent crime.
Yep,
But
so
like-
it could be like arson, burglary, just an assault at a bar, things like that, all those different things. It's not necessarily homicide, but any other violent crimes. Yep. We've had 16 additional reach out through medical clinics for our services here in Crawford County. We've helped 27 with housing here in Crawford County. We all know housing is a huge crisis. So with domestic violence, that's even a bigger barrier because a lot of times, they don't have access to funds or employment, or things like that, because those are some of the power and control issues.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
So when you say housing, 27 clients, it would be somebody who's been misplaced because of the situation in their current home, or are you talking about homeless people, or is it always
Both.
both? Okay.
Yep.
All right, so you have resources available to help them with rent and things, or is it just you have resources to help them identify where the low to moderate income housing is? Is
So-
that where you target?
Yes, so Family Crisis Centers has 2 housing programs.
Okay,
We have one, we call it rapid rehousing for those fleeing domestic violence or violent crimes. Okay. So if they're in an abusive relationship and need a new place to go, we help them with that
those homes are gonna be in Crawford County always?
typically.
Typically, okay.
Yep.
Asking for
This
a
number
reason.
is Crawford County.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I wanna make sure that.
Not the
that you're
overall.
Not having to go to Sac County to find a place
Right.
for them, okay.
Yep,
that's
we
good.
have a housing gal who just specifically,
Because sometimes when there's the violence, like it's the domestic violence, sometimes you need to move them further away.
sometimes it does happen that way for safety purposes. If they can't, like if their aggressor wants to stay here or is gonna stay here, sometimes it's easier for us just to say, let's pick a different place. Obviously, we don't make that choice for them, they make it, but maybe it's,
Right.
they can't stay here, it's just not safe. And so then we would look, and that's still not this number, this is just housing here in Crawford.
Okay. all right.
That number is not considered when we house them outside.
Because we're trying to figure out if we have enough housing in Crawford
That's a
County for your
crisis.
needs.
Yes,
That's the reason. for
there's a
it.
struggle for housing everywhere.
Yeah.
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 Yes, but then we also have a general homelessness or homelessness prevention program that does general population, not DV.
Okay,
And that one, our housing girl does that. She actually does, well, again, numbers are reflected here because she does 10 counties, but only the Crawford
Okay,
ones are
okay.
reflected in the report.
do you have funds available to help them with rent? Or do you just, your funds go for this employee to help them find it?
No, it goes
Okay.
towards rent.
Okay,
Like we
okay.
have, yep, it's short term. We're not like a
Sure,
HUD.
yeah, yeah,
But yes, it's very short term because while we're doing that, our advocates are in there working on financial sustainability. Like,
Right.
how can we help you find and secure employment? Get yourself on HUD,
Right.
food assist, like all these
Right.
other barriers
right.
so that you can sustain and maintain this household.
And
so
it's
that's
based
what
on
we
safe
work
and
on.
sanitary
Yes,
housing and all that.
we are all certified in, like, we have to inspect for lead, the whole
Okay,
nine yards,
okay.
just like a HUD does,
Okay,
but we're not HUD.
because we do have a concern about housing and just, for you to be able to find 27 places for people that are in need that day, I find it to be amazing, really,
Right,
really.
In a year, yeah, yep.
I want
that's-
to give you kudos on that.
We have
That'd be
built
easy.
some good relationships with some landlords, so I
Okay.
think that kind of helps,
Okay,
like
alright.
they're like, hey, I've got one coming open, do you have anybody?
There we go.
Type of thing. It's not like that with
Yeah.
all landlords, obviously, but
But kudos to you guys. for
yes,
doing
we're
that.
working very hard on that. And then overall in the last year, since we also house the statewide call center, there's been 72 crisis calls that have come from Crawford County in the last year. So thing with our advocacy services is advocates, we're available 365 days a year. So we might be in the office from 8 to 4 or from 9 to 5, but one of us is always on call. So if there's a crisis or police are dispatched or somebody's at the ER, somebody, whether it's police department, sheriff's department, ER, they're gonna call family crisis centers, and family crisis centers is gonna say, hey, you gotta go, and we go.
Are you working with the 988 hotline?
No, we
No,
have
okay.
just the statewide,
Okay,
yeah, different.
okay, just kind of trying to figure out, who's doing what.
Yes,
and where it
there's
is.
so many different agencies, like
Yes.
hotline wise,
Right,
but because of the regionalization of domestic violence services, the statewide call center is housed through family crisis
Okay.
centers. So they take calls for all 99 counties.
Right.
In addition to the national one,
right.
but they're more local, because they're in Iowa based.
Can you tell me where the fastest place to find your hotline number would be?
It's always on the back of everything.
On the back of?
It's plastered everywhere around
okay.
town, like
Yeah.
it's on all of our,
Okay.
everything's online
Website?
website.
Okay.
Yep, and I have stuff to leave here too. I always leave it at the house.
And I have it on the, down on our board down there, because I don't.
Yes, and a lot
Hospitals,
upstairs.
police, they all have access to your numbers. So I mean, there's a
Yes.
point of contact that will be able to get somebody that.
Always, yep. So we work very closely with the police department. We have family crisis centers envelopes that we put like our brochure, our resource cards, things like that. So even if they go to, they're responding to a domestic and the survivor's like, nope, I don't want you to call anybody. They still hand them that envelope and say, you know what, why don't you look through this?
Yeah.
And maybe give them a call. If the police are obviously involved and it gets to the county attorney's office here, Joni usually says, hey, Michelle,
Yep.
I've got
I've
this,
seen
can
them
you,
and everything.
and so then I'm like, yep, let me assign it to somebody or let me go myself. And we try to intervene because studies show the faster an advocate can intervene and is allowed to intervene, because obviously we don't force our services, we're free and confidential, so they have the right to say no. But the faster that an advocate can kind of help explain things, usually the more positive the outcome is. So,
All right, thank you for that. I
yes,
just kind of trying to put this all together.
yes,
Do we have a lot of homeless in Crawford County?
depending on the month, yes. It does seem that way, yes.
Tries to not have us.
Our- yes,
Transitory.
Not a
is it?
lot, but hey, our housing advocate Haley, when we first re-rolled out our homeless prevention, we had a good couple and then it kind of died down. So it kind of goes in spurts,
That's just annoying.
yep. So it's one of those things maybe, I can't say there's a lot,
Okay.
but
It exists.
it does exist. Yeah.
They're like the guys that live under the bridges down here and stuff like that. Is that what you're talking
It's
about?
possible. Yep. I don't know too much on those just because I don't oversee that project per se,
Mhm.
but I do work with her. And so we will talk about different ones, but she doesn't always give me all the, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Other questions?
No, I always enjoy your update and
Yes.
appreciate what you do. for our
Yes,
county.
thank you very much. We enjoy working here in Crawford. We're actually coming up on our 10 years here.
Yeah,
I'm super excited about that. Here, 10
So you've
years,
been here all 10 years?
5. Half the time, half the time. But it just, to see where we started,
Right.
where I started in Crawford County to where we are now, it's just oh my goodness, this is so real, because it's, yeah.
Cool.
It's amazing. So I am gonna leave just general FCC cards, like things to look for, as well as my personal contact if anybody needs them.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for your
Thanks
time.
for coming in.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
and if you get a chance, please go outside.
We'll get there eventually.
I'm an advocate for vitamin D.
We'll get there eventually.
Pastries, bars, anybody?
Help yourself, everyone.
Yep.
We're sharers up
That's
here.
the idea.
We are sharers.
The zucchini cake.
It's cake, bread, zucchini
Pretty
bread.
good. Zucchini bread.
You make that? I did.
I didn't make this.
Those boxes.
Yeah, Kyle, you
Portion
could
sheet.
tell us that.
Yes.
Somewhere that you checked.
Four.
Anybody has a-
Few minutes.
Few minutes?
What's that?
5 minutes if you look here.
Yeah.
Don't run. God damn, I don't need you falling down the
It is not-
step.
It is not out.
Jesus.
It's not manual.
Chris, how are you?
Pretty good.
Do you know where your vehicles are?
I wonder how hard it would be to sand this out every single Tuesday, get a snag in our pants because. look at this.
Oh, you do?
Look at that.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of rough.
It's really bad.
Duct tape.
Mine's nice and smooth.
Yeah,
Duct tape.
Oh my gosh.
nice silver
Look at
duct tape
that.
down here.
Red, green specials.
You think of it, bring up some bright red for me. will you?
Red? All right.
Wait, get my, it's just really gray in here, really red.
Sandpaper.
Well, I never bring some sandpaper.
Pick up sticks. So.
To pretend like I'm somebody that doesn't go to a lot of meetings and how I would find out if I needed help, you know, exactly how I would approach all of that, you know. Struggle with that. Never thought about it till recently.
Was your husband in on the project over here?
It just went up against the
Going
wall.
down the hill
It just
from
floored it.
10th Street.
Beginning.
That's
Street.
Kim.
Well,
That was after it was
Oh, I think
Oh,
my
he
son
passed.
was.
He
from
passed
10 Point.
five people
Nice
to get
job.
where he had to
pretty
be.
smooth.
I think he worked on the cemetery too.
I never thought to do that.
Cemetery you
go.
were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Just
thought
use
he
the
was
wall
out
so he
there
didn't
working
get
on
loose.
that. Clay
Yep.
was.
I'll be dang. Smart move, I
It's
guess.
neat.
Yeah, I'll bet
It
it
really dresses that.
I haven't been out there yet.
Yes.
but I bet it is.
Financial officer, the administrative support.
There's a lot of people that you wonder what they really do.
Yeah.
Chief programs officer. These people don't see a soul. They're just
Money suckers.
Love and water.
incredible. So
So you're probably getting people that are in charge of the people that are saying.
These are people, that remember my story about if that was in needed about
8
help.
more.
They went some straight.
8 more meetings.
Eight more meetings. Is that all?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Probably should, we need to convene our compensation board people.
Yeah, I didn't know how you wanted to do that because
Probably
with
should.
Yeah.
Because we'll have some new, we'll have a new
Yeah, just in the
new
recorder.
recorder.
My supervisor's meeting, so I was just gonna grab it. real
Should
quick.
she
What's that?
be part of it? Or we wait till she is part of it?
These are people that.
Okay.
Well, yeah, the next Tuesday will be. For sure, she'll be new.
Oh, okay.
Well, she didn't take office till
Right.
January 1.
Can we hold that off that
I don't
long?
know.
Okay, yeah, I noticed that when I got home and I figured you guys noticed it. She would have, she re-added it while I was
Interesting.
there.
Water just go in it.
Stood right there.
At least it's water.
Coffee.
Should be 107.
Okay, 10:30 it is.
307.
Additional concrete work, towers.
Let it on us.
Was Ray gonna call in or?
I can try to get him.
Yep, yep, I actually had noticed that. I think
Cullen was
they
gonna be
noticed it,
here.
and, you know,
For
so, yeah,
additional
no,
concrete work?
appreciate you calling.
Yeah, I asked him about it,
Real nice.
and he sent me an email.
I always do that in my-
Okay, what this is about was whether we needed to RF.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Did we need to sign that?
All right, we're back in session here.
And I can see it.
What this was about was whether we needed to RFP the concrete and the other grounding work. But this is actually something that we can, the consultants were sure that we could, or in their opinion, we were sure we could, and they've done it with other county. It was Osceola.
Yeah.
Don't quote me.
Where's Osceola?
And it's calling. Anyway, it was like Osceola County that they did the change order work to do some concrete for shelter structures. And where the oversight came in this, not having that on there. Your guess is as good as mine. Anyway, but I had no idea that we actually had to ground the towers, excuse me, the shelters as well as the tower. I mean, I would assume you had to ground the tower. Kind of sticks up there as a lightning rod, but the shelters, because of the communications equipment that's inside them, also need to be grounded. And so that does make sense. You always ground a building. So I trip over my ground frequently when I'm taking the trash out of my building. So those are the two things that are primarily on this change. And it'd be just use 25,000 for the number for each tower, because it's right in that neighborhood. So it'd be about $100,000 in a change order. Getting somebody, we probably have some people that could do the concrete. Getting them will be the bigger trick. I mean, because for the no more season there is, they're probably already spoken for concrete. I would say like your son Adam's probably spoken for
He's
it.
got a couple of crews, so, you know, but
I mean, then there's the contract or the guys that do there's only so many people that I guess know how to do these grounds.
Yep.
So getting them is a bigger challenge as well. And then when we do it, they'll probably be as expensive, if not more than just doing the change orders. So I wrote Colin an email asking him if we were within our legal parameters to do so. And I'm under the impression that we are.
With board consent, it'd be doable, yes.
Okay. So I guess it's up to us in a timely fashion. We would get the same concrete guys that are actually doing the concrete now. So I mean, they're also skilled in doing these particular projects.
I have a question.
Okay.
How did we end up with the change order so soon into this?
Yeah, that's a great
project?
question.
I
That's
thought it
kinda
was-
how we
I think, yeah, you
started
addressed
this.
to that. You said, how did we come up with this? Don't ask me.
Because I really don't know. I thought we had all these things covered, to be honest with
But these
you.
are the
Absolutely.
experts that do it. We sat here, we had a packet this big and everybody had it all laid out nice and pretty
I
with a
think-
bow on it.
If I look back at the original discussion with Ray Freeman, it was, we as a board expressed as much stuff that can be done locally
Yeah.
Mhm.
to be done locally. So I think maybe that's where we went with that, but yet then it was failed to bring back to us that, hey, we need to be getting people hired for that.
So now it's not being done locally.
Well, relatively, I think the one guy
It's
that
more
does the most of the
relative.
concrete's actually from Anthem. So-
Anthony is local.
Well, it's in the state of Iowa,
Yeah.
Western.
To me, it's Crawford County, but
We can go and do an RFP. see what we want to do. I mean, it's in there.
So
We can, but it's probably gonna put the towers done next spring.
well, we don't want to do that. So whatever we have to do to keep it moving.
I mean,
That's the drawback.
There we go.
By our failure to act.
I will tell you
puts us up
that
against the
you
wall.
probably aren't as frustrated as I.
Okay, I'll drop it. All right, let's keep the project moving. What do we need to do? Forget
Well,
about,
then we just have to approve doing the change order.
yeah,
And we have the dollars amount. I mean,
$100,000.
and then if we did, then the other thing is if you do an RFP now, you already got somebody's bid that's out there in the public eye.
Yeah,
It's almost
no,
kinda
no, no, no,
open
no,
up.
no, no, no,
Right.
no, no, no.
Might be a
I hate that if we're doing a change order.
sticky wicket.
We got our people working on it, we just have to.
Yeah, let's
kind
just
of
do it.
amend the
Yep,
proposal.
let's keep it moving.
So you want an official action today to take that, well, we can officially approve the change order.
I would make a motion that we approve the change order in an effort to keep our towers moving
Second.
and timely.
Been moved and seconded to approve the change order in the amount of, no, not to exceed $25,000
Well,
per tower. I think there were 24 something,
Yeah, I think it was 24, so
It was 24. I had it.
6 something, 690.
let me get in there.
I got it. Great.
We should have the official number in there for that change order.
Look at that stupid computer. I'll print everything out.
Just don't want to leave it open in the change order.
There's gonna be a difference in each location.
24,653 for each site. And that's with the concrete for the pad for the,
From the ground.
and the grounding.
The grounding.
Yeah.
The grounding's the
So we need
more
to do
expensive
lower
part.
24,653 times 4. Okay,
I mean, we're good. I would say that even using local is probably gonna be in that pretty close to that same neighborhood. Didn't sound like we were getting gouged here, at
I
least
didn't
with
think-
my look here, what I see.
They'll be able to get it done in a day.
$98,612.
Correct. They'll be able to pour the concrete, do that all in one day.
Yep.
Yep. And there's already got
Any
time.
further
Because
discussion?
the pad, just so you know, the generator pad's a 5 by 9 foot. And then the propane pad is 4 by 10 foot, and that's of each project at each site, that's $2,464 of it. That's the generator and propane pad. And then the 12,000, the shelter foundation with a stoop. Somebody want to help me with that? Stoop to me is like just out front.
Entrance.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, so that'll be just like a little walking pad out front of the door. All right, with the stoop is $12,599. And the grounding for each site is just short of 9,590. So the grounding is actually a lot more expensive than I would have thought, but it probably takes a pretty good sized cable to ground a radio tower. And so that's it, 24,653.
Is what it is.
It says they're actually 3-foot foundations, not just slabs.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Call the question.
Question and call, we'll proceed to vote on the change order in regards to the concrete work, additional concrete work at the 4 tower sites. Total cost I just have here. $98,612, so $24,653 per site.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed that.
All right.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Okay, 9:35. The beaver bounty. We all had some homework to do. What's that?
One more comment. Ty, if you're the person that's gonna get a hold of him and tell him that this is what's gonna happen, would you please say if there's anything coming up, if he can get it done locally, we'd appreciate that, getting that done.
Let's get our fencer guy lined up too.
yeah, we gotta get I called the guy that Paul suggested, who usually does the county road fence.
He's good.
Yeah, but he's also said that that's not very much to do, so it really wasn't worth his time, so
That's true.
down there, Dow City in particular was the one that we really. Sorry. I've been checking.
But we're still gonna have to line up somebody like Klein fencing or whatever, to put chain link and security fence around all our sites.
And I
So-
think, and Paul said there's some, I don't know, or Paul, not Paul, but Ray said that there was an outfit that's in Audubon that does their chain link fence. I thought,
Might be where they're from, Klein.
Klein, yeah. Anyway, they would also be able to do our barbed wire if we aren't able to get somebody local.
Does he say what about American fencing?
And we can check wherever. I mean, if you got some lists, please get them to me. I'll call.
All right,
Thank you.
beaver bounty. I did call some additional counties,
Thank you.
and the only ones that have beaver bounties also have drainage districts. And they tax for their bounty through their drainage districts.
That's where they get the money.
And through discussion with these, I kind of reaffirmed my thoughts last week that why is it county's responsibility to pay for beaver eradication on private property without being in a drainage district?
Or without being in. Right.
You know, if a farmer or said landowner wants beavers trapped and don't know how to trap them, and they want to pay somebody to trap them, that's
There are
private
people who do
business
that.
deal. And I don't know as if we should, my opinion, I don't think we should make it, even though I was the one that brought up the whole beaver bounty process, but through discovery, I don't know if it's right to tax people for something that's on private property. I mean, if it's on protect the dam or something, flood and erosion's got money for it there. If it's affecting secondary roads, Paul pays for it out of his budget. Those are the things that kind of fall in our wheelhouse here.
I think that's probably a good
I
summary.
agree with
there.
that.
Unfortunately, you know,
Yep.
Much as I'd like to get them little fellows under control, it's a great point.
I think landowners need to take responsibility for that.
Mhm.
I believe.
All right. So at this point, we take no action.
I would say unless there's more discussion in regards to it.
So did we not put money aside for the coming year budget for a beaver bounty? Did we not?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank
I
you.
don't
I just
think we
thought
did.
maybe we had, and I thought.
We
yeah,
discussed it, but I
found
think it
the
fell
600
through.
bucks. Coming out of the beaver fund.
Oh, that would have been,
Oh,
We wasn't named in it.
Darn.
I thought we talked about that. I'm disappointed.
All right.
Any
That's all
further
I wanted.
discussion in regards to that? On different opinions? I don't know.
You know, I think you're right on the drainage district issue. I mean, we've only got a little chunk down there in the southwest corner that's anything. of
We don't
drainage.
levy for it.
Can't hardly levy that, all out of that. little corner.
So do we need to take any action, yes or no? Or we just table it
No
until
action.
another day?
We don't table it, we just don't take no action and
No
let it,
action. Thank you.
Table it means we're bringing it back. So
Okay,
it just dies due to
thank you.
lack of action.
Perfect.
All right, moving along. Decide city center request for RFP. Okay, we've seen that many.
we have
Been
passed it
around.
around. We have highlighted it, red marked it, had public health go through and look at the things that, Jerry went through, and, things that they require to be done, very minimal things upstairs. The RFP addresses all of their,
You know what,
Never mind,
did we have
that's
anything in there about the generator? I mean, or are we gonna do that separate?
I don't know if we need, if that's part of a subcontract, wouldn't that just be something that we would?
That'd be subcontractor, it'd be electric
Yeah, thank you.
deal to put a sub panel,
Because there's the transfer
Automatic
panels and you know,
switching.
the automatic switch and all that.
Typically, your electrician does it, but.
The
you may
generator?
need a
Generative property site,
Slab.
size and location approved by county to include.
We'll need a slab to
I'm
put
not
on.
sure.
It does say,
Know the
it does,
configuration
it
over there.
does,
There's
it
a
does,
slider.
it
It's in
does.
there.
It does.
It's in there, okay, I
Yes.
thought, I couldn't
Yes.
remember if we did.
Wasn't it in the folder?
No, I think it was, but I found it. in my-
I've never seen it.
Oh, I probably, no, I think it's
It's been in there most.
I know we
Yes.
talked about it, and I
Thank you.
thought I saw it
So-
there,
I
but
couldn't
then,
remember.
basically what we're looking at right now is
Generator,
just getting some, I mean, unless there's some changes, getting some dates, right?
We had the transfer.
so we need times and dates on there, huh?
Mhm.
so we need to, a motion to publish it.
I'd make that.
Need
motion.
times and dates on there first.
Oh,
Grab the dates.
Yep, I'm just trying to, in the
No.
spirit of the whole process that, of this $100,000 grant that we were
Right.
being pressured, not maybe pressured, but
informed of.
reminded of
Uh-huh.
that we're still probably not gonna make.
No, I cannot see where we would.
Unless, I don't know what the dynamics of that grant is, if we've got construction started that qualifies or.
SJ.
What grant are we talking about? The IT grant that public health has?
Right.
Correct.
The drop dead date on that is December 18th. So
And
We
what's
have to
that,
be done with the project then, or? start?
everything has to be all sewn up and buttoned,
Yeah.
Can you button it up by then? I mean, what?
depending on what we're looking at. I mean, I know a lot of the equipment at this point that that I was looking to put in, that was in my.
Can you get it
RFP.
bought?
Uh-huh.
I can't get it bought before then. The shipping dates are according to county policy, I have to have that equipment in hand before I pay for it. And there's no way I can get that equipment in hand before that.
well, I always said we can't.
Can we get an extension on the grant due to COVID?
That I have to
That's
ask
what
Lynn
the
about.
grant is gonna go back to
So,
federal
but
dollars.
as far as extensions or things along those lines, I think that grant itself expires at the end of the year. I just know that that was a date that we had written in there as far as the 18th was concerned.
Who wrote it? in?
So
That was Lynn.
Stay.
yeah.
to stay on task with what we got here, I just wanted that clarification that we'll never be able to
Yeah.
accomplish that,
As
so.
far as equipment is concerned, and I don't know, I know I was planning on trying to get a fiber line between the two that I wanted to put in there. That's just not gonna happen either. There's, they're bogged down as far as contracting is concerned and all that good stuff,
So
so.
we can move forward with this part.
Yes.
Well, one thing I would offer is I'm holding 2 RFPs,
Okay,
one for the building itself and one for the IT that Jake put together. And the board would need to decide if they want to bid out each separate or just have one master contractor do all of it and just subcontract out the IT part.
Have you guys seen my RFP that I developed at all or not?
Is it, yeah, you gave that to us a month ago, did you send that to us?
Well, I mean, I sent it to Colin for approval, but I don't know if you actually reviewed this.
If I look at it, I'll be able to see if I've seen it before, so I see so much stuff.
And I can give you my copy here for you guys to look at. It's not, I mean, it's written similar to Terry's, but there's just, it's more equipment and IT based.
Jake has different needs.
Yeah, versus if you really want to think about
We're
it,
really drawing on probably 2 different types of contractors here, what would be?
Yeah.
a little bit, yeah. Because,
I think we do them separately, just off the
okay,
first
that-
thought.
I mean, it's
Otherwise
You're-
subcontracting ends
I
up
mean,
costing more and.
2 cooks in the kitchen kind of versus one, but you know, one is specialized, so there's like arguments both ways.
I have not seen it.
It's really kind of what you guys think is best.
and the other thing is that the one I've got here is not gonna really be able to take place until all the construction's done inside that building. So, because this is, the server room gets built out, and then that RFP populates it.
Now, I don't know enough about the interplay between what you need and what, I mean, does anything need to go in the wall for your room?
Well, we've.
I mean, if everything's built, can you just overlay what you need in there, or do they need to do pre-work?
I've looked at Terry's RFP and it fits, they fit hand in glove.
Okay.
So,
I would suggest, my suggestion would be to keep the ball rolling, get this construction
Yep.
remodel RFP out with some dates in there.
Mhm.
Now we've established that we're not gonna meet any deadlines in regards to the grant, the IT grant. And with your enlightenment of, we can do your RFP 2 weeks later or something that says, well, this,
Yeah.
yours will commence after this is done,
yeah, exactly.
so.
So.
To have dates, when would they be ready for? We have to publicize, and then they'll be ready for pickup by contractors. Just trying to figure this out here. Today's the 1st. They go in the paper next week. We make it this week yet.
Are you planning on publishing in all 3 county papers? So then we're looking at next week.
I guess that's my opinion.
Yep.
And then have,
so what date fits that move? to do all three county papers.
And we give them,
How long does it have to be posted for? Is there a legal number that we have to?
well, I think we can establish that.
I think the proposal deadline is in RFP, isn't it?
No,
it's
those
not.
are not
No,
adequate
those are-
dates.
blank.
Those are dates that have gone
None of
past.
them.
Right.
October 14th and submittal date by November 14th is not.
Basically 30 days, right? I think that's
Right, so
Probably
we look at publishing
November.
the 10th.
10th of,
December
the
10th.
8th, the 8th of December, so give them roughly 30 days. That's 4 weeks.
Oh, sure.
December 8th. Okay.
Short 30, but it's 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So you're saying,
Come in on the 8th and
um,
we review them on the 14th.
They should be
Yeah.
November
Submittal
10th,
date
Submittal date,
to
December the
be
8th.
December 8th.
Would we open them before that? So we can vote on them on the 13th?
You could open them the 9th or
Show up
something.
and have a
Right.
special meeting on the 9th.
12th, and then have on the agenda wording on the 13th.
There you go.
And December
So
9th.
you're gonna, and the reason that we're doing November 10th
On
is
Wednesday.
because of the publication dates of the 3 different
Yes.
Papers.
papers, all
Mhm.
right? And then give.
Work must be completed by.
Submitted by.
Completed by.
Completed by.
I'm on to the.
You're on to the
thing.
next thing or
Since all of them.
And what are the penalties if it's not? I don't have. a
death
copy.
by hanging.
Okay, so we decided we are, okay, part of it, the next thing would be opening the bids, selected proposal. We're gonna open up those bids. Did we say we're going to open those on?
December 13th.
Somebody threw
We're
out-
gonna open them on the 9th
The 9th.
and then we'll award it on the
December 9th.
13th.
Okay, but let's go back to timeline. When do you want this all finished up? That's a reasonable timeline.
Well, for what we have for work, is 6 months a reasonable
That's
timeline?
way too long.
I think that's way too
That's
long.
too-
Well, I'm just throwing
Oh,
a
yeah,
number
no,
out
no, no,
there.
that, well,
That
I
sounds
just,
I
good.
I just threw out, that's too
April
long.
30th.
When?
April 30th.
April
I
30th?
don't even know what day of the week that's on. I can look. I got a calendar.
Not that,
It's roughly-
you know.
What do you want,
up-
shorter?
up- Well,
April 30th is on a
upstairs, you
Sunday,
know,
so-
we're talking some painting,
minimal
we've got the
work.
door, it's minimal
There ain't a lot of
upstairs.
work, I don't think.
You know, if we give, if we don't say it, they'll start it in March because, you know,
Okay,
it's,
so
we got 30 days.
Do you want to
of
say
work
March
up there.
31st? That's on a.
I think March 1st.
March 1st.
March
Yeah.
1st?
Yeah,
Really?
yes,
Like I said, it's minimal
it's,
work.
Okay.
it's, we're not, people
You got a
can.
good crew though.
I got a house on Donnery Road that's gone up every time I go by it. I mean, they're gonna probably be moving in. And all we're doing is painting, moving some doors around and, you know, downstairs repairing the, you know, and if the contractor,
March 1,
When's March?
31,
so.
2022.
we want somebody that'll get in there, get it done, give them 6 months, they'll start, come
Well,
back.
yeah.
Jake?
Just have a question here.
Yeah,
So you're talking about the RFP that Terry is drawing up.
Yes,
right. We're not talking about,
We're not talking
No,
about, okay,
no.
it's just like,
No.
so, okay.
no, yes, we are.
We're treating them two separate things then, okay. Gotcha.
And it's not like they gotta order a
No,
bunch of
no, the doors are
high-end,
there, the doors
yeah.
are there.
stuff that.
Would you be able to have somebody start March 1st?
I mean, I mean,
we
To
could-
I
finish
think that
your
would be
stuff?
possible depending on the circumstances.
And then be done
Yes.
by the end of March?
You might be pushing it, but it's possible. I mean, if it's all built out and ready to go, I don't see why it should be. I mean, I just have to provide access to
Yeah.
them, to that building, so.
then flipping the page.
look at that.
says
What else you
CR
got?
proposals.
What about a
I don't
site
think it's
visit?
unheard of.
We could do a site visit in 17th November.
Who's doing that site visit? Because I won't be here.
Well, the site visit will
November
be
17th.
for the bids, right?
Right.
If those perspectives.
For all
I wanna bid
vendors
it.
planning on submitting a proposal.
Or what works for
Actually-
everybody? I'm just thinking a week,
24th.
Of November?
Thanksgiving Day.
Then you're definitely doing it.
Right.
Seeing if you're paying attention there.
I was just looking, I think we're going to Colorado.
I don't know, I'm gone that week too, which matters.
The week of the 17th, you'll be gone?
I'm-
I mean, I'll
It
go.
don't take all of us there.
No, no,
Just a couple of us or
I'll
one
be
of us.
glad to do it if.
Site visit.
10
Should
a.m.
be
on the
somebody that knows
17th.
what they were looking
Yeah,
at.
10 a.m.
though.
on the 17th.
And
October
you-
17th.
10 a.m. 17th.
November 17th.
And we'll figure out who's gonna be there with Terry to begin.
I won't be
She won't
there.
be there.
I won't be there.
I
you
caught
say that
that, so I was
again?
just making sure I was.
I
pulling your-
could.
Pulling your chain, Madam Auditor, pulling your chain.
I'll be here.
Think anybody's.
Thanksgiving's late.
It's a little grumpy.
Receive.
What else, what other blanks we need to fill in?
Visitation.
Okay, so proposal.
Point of
to receive
contact
Crawford
is
County
Gene if you have any other
till
questions.
December 8th.
I'll be fine.
Anything else? We can proceed.
Yeah, all I got so far on that day's a Highway 30 meeting, so.
Okay, I guess we'd take action if there's no other blanks that need to be filled in. Nope, nothing yet.
Not yet.
The motion would just be to approve the RFP for the city center
I would
Yep.
so
and
move.
send it for publication.
Send it for,
Second,
moving second.
Moved and seconded to approve the city center RFP and send it to publication. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right. Set time for hearing and notice to vacate streets in Kenwood. This would be the legal set public hearing date, so
It's simply picking a date, exactly like it says, for public hearing on the vacation of the streets of Kenwood. Our office has been working with Paul on this issue. Paul just dropped off some minor revisions on our final draft resolution this morning. So I would say setting a date and getting notice out is all we have to do. Anyone who would object could come to that future hearing and object at that point if they wanted to. It wouldn't deter the board from taking action on it, if their voice could be heard at that time. My understanding is 2 of the 3 parties both understand and want this to happen anyway. The third party is probably on board, but we just haven't reached out yet. I mean, I would say 2-3 weeks.
I think 22nd or 29th. Probably.
I mean, probably 29th if it's all I'm saying.
Question is kind of for Dwayne, 911, is that going to change 911 addresses for fire, rescue?
It shouldn't.
Postal.
No, they should stay the same.
So make sure.
I think they're all.
Good question.
Thanks for asking.
That's a good point.
Good question.
Watch them.
Well, it's just to be safe on it. Let's do it the 29th.
Yeah.
Be my suggestion, the 29th at 10 a.m.
29th of what?
November,
Okay.
public hearing.
In our office, we'll get the letters, official letters of notice out for this hearing to the parties involved. Along with the final draft resolution.
They're huge. Okay. That's my suggestion. Would that be
Yep,
on
I think it works. I'd make the motion to do that on the 29th, public hearing,
At 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
in the border.
right here.
Okay, perfect.
You made that motion, I will second that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to have a public hearing in regards to the vacation of streets in Kenwood for November 29th at 10 a.m. in the boardroom. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Perfect. We are back on schedule.
Yeah, we're actually a couple minutes ahead. I'm kind of stoked about these new restrooms. They're nice. I don't know why I'm excited about it, but I am.
I bet you aren't near as stoked as the employees that have been
Yeah,
here
people
for
are
a
Yeah.
like
long
every
time.
day.
Yeah.
I've seen them, I don't-
Seems like it's gonna be a really nice improvement that's gonna stay in tradition with the courthouse and be really nice.
You want me to open some of this window,
It
with some of that nice
It's
outside?
really
Yeah,
really warm in
please,
here.
that'd be
They
great.
can turn down the boiler.
Fresh air.
That's the joys of the boiler. Once you get them fired
Where's
up,
Michelle?
it's hard
Why
to
is
shut them
Michelle
down.
Want to keep this out, just for those fan remarks.
Okay.
That when they close the door is when it really
Yeah,
gets,
well,
yeah,
It was
I looked,
pretty
we need,
loud.
like to make a
See
motion to
everything.
put a fan in here.
Should we hang it from the bottom of the owl or what?
You know, that'd be great.
That'd be
I
perfect.
don't know where we
You can
put it.
slide over
Well,
there.
luckily, the historical
down.
society is,
Have you seen the video where they're hanging the Coke bottle at on a ceiling fan where you got people with blindfolds standing? That's just dumber than hell.
I have 11 o'clock on my
I do
computer, so 11 o'clock agenda item, courthouse restroom renovation concrete special inspections. Certified Testing Services, Inc. You reached out to them, Madam Auditor, or did they
I
reach out to
did.
you?
No,
Okay.
I reached out to them, FEH, the design firm. And it was part of the pre-bid meeting that was held. I found out that was something the county is responsible for.
Okay.
So they had recommended, they've used these certified testing services before. And so I reached out to them, and that's the contract that Paul spoke
Right.
of this
Yep.
morning.
Yep.
And depending on the timing, he's willing to help with some of that, but this entire contract just needs attention regardless. So that way, if,
I
the
read
timing
through that and it
doesn't-
seems like it's,
yeah,
I mean, it'd be harmless to me to enter into that contract.
right. I sent it to FEH also, and she looked at it and
Yeah.
just said to let
You
him
just bore the
know.
floor.
I don't know what they,
What are they?
It's for testing of the material, the concrete or the,
Soil.
yeah, she said, with the way the market is these days, it's, even though it's a very small project, that it would be beneficial to the county to have that tested just as a liability to make
This
sure
is-
we're getting the
this
right
is new
product for the
concrete
job.
going in.
Yeah, that's the new stuff, like when we do the
New.
pavements,
That's
right?
right.
That's what I thought.
Right.
Because Paul talked like Casey could do it. right?
Yeah.
It could be a weakened material if it's not proper, so.
Yeah,
Right. No, I think
gotta be
Paul
done.
could do it, but the key point was if he had time.
If,
Yeah,
right,
so,
so approving this contract does not include Paul doing it.
right.
It includes them doing the whole work. So if Paul were able to step in, of course, this would
He
Do
left.
be
less.
less.
And has that stipulation already been talked to with these? folks?
Yes,
Oh,
Paul
okay.
called them.
Oh, okay, all right, well, that makes
Thank you.
sense now.
So. I would entertain.
Well, I would
motion to
actually make the
approve
motion to utilize these folks under the stipulation that if Paul could kind of help out and get in there and do the boring.
I would second that.
that. I don't know if there's any boring involved. This is
No.
just concrete
Just sampling the
It's not,
concrete.
yeah.
when they're pouring
a
it.
cylinder. and
Creating
everything.
the cylinder.
We'll put an extra signage on the door.
Oh, okay.
Even with your towers, I think they're the same company that have certified, who's done our work in the past.
Okay,
Okay,
For the storm light.
good to know.
gotcha.
Oh, all right.
So they
Perfect,
just sample
thank
the
you.
pour as they're doing
So
the
they
pour.
take, you'll
Yeah,
see
they
these
sample
tubes
them.
that are cardboard, that are maybe 6 inches by 12 inches. So they take those of the, when the truck backs up, they fill those full
Gotcha.
and they'll fill
All
like,
right,
say 3 of them. One of them they break in 24 hours, one maybe 72, and one in 7 days or something. And so it has to meet a certain, like, so if you got 4,000 pounds in 24 hours, it has to meet a certain percentage of that. I think maybe it's 80%, but it tells you on the report.
okay.
Thank you.
Got a motion,
In a second.
a second?
Yep.
Been moved and seconded to approve the contract with Certified Testing Services, Inc. in regards to the courthouse restroom renovation, concrete special inspections. Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed?
Makes it easier than what I thought it was gonna be.
I didn't flag it, but flip the back page,
Alright.
will you please?
I'll try to remember the
Thanks.
short term.
I get it. Sure. I feel your pain.
Keep an eye on it.
Bird name.
Yeah, 11:10.
Fine, that's okay.
1 minute.
You're welcome.
In theory, Jake, we could probably put your RFP on for next week to
Discuss that.
discuss that. Okay,
Send that out in email.
Will.
Supposed to break it.
sooner we get moving, the sooner we can get it done, the sooner we get it moved, the sooner we get it sold.
Good work.
Jean says, keep it.
I confess.
Terry, would you put on the agenda sometime, EMA purchase of pickup? It was okay by the board, I figured I'd tell these guys and ladies what's going on. Please.
You bet.
So we're gonna have to put charging stations.
Just
by all
discussion?
fire hydrants.
Please action.
Action.
Yeah, right next to it, in the water line.
The smartest place to put it.
Supposedly gonna open a bid, be able to open a bid, or bid on, got a bid, the order.
You have your bid, you said.
I've got a bid.
Were you able to get a government one?
You know how much they're gonna get back? $600.
Oh, cheaper.
Can you believe that?
No. Well, yes, I can, but
Ford's way, I mean, they're giving back quite a bit, but the government kickback now is $600. Or Ford's kickback.
Crazy times.
Amen.
We don't have any bad, the Ford red moves, you don't have those, that's why they're holding back on a bunch of pickups now, because they don't have the badges. Front Ford says Ford on it.
All Chevy. they
Sure,
might have
Moxie.
some of those.
Yeah, I ordered a GMC and it came, back in the day, the Caballeros or the El Caminos Caballeros. I ordered a GMC and it came with all Chevrolet insides. And Chevrolet emblems,
Huh.
built the same factory.
Yeah, it's about the GM
It said
product.
GMC on the outside. the inside was Chevy.
Hmm.
I should have kept it, it'd be worth something.
It might be a collector's
Yeah, I
item.
know. Two-headed pin,
What?
like a two-headed pin.
Two-headed. There were some, yes.
1110,
Oh,
1110 burn ban extension. Greg, I tasked you last week with making contact with their local
Majority
fire
wants to
chief.
keep it as is, or, I mean, to keep it going. with The fire departments.
I know, yeah, life safety and property conservation
yeah,
is their number one goal.
Dennison had a tractor on fire with a little fire underneath it. By the time they get out there, what do you have, 4 departments doing?
You mean this one?
Yeah, I suppose. Was it
That little
4 or 5? It was.
Tractor and the.
Yeah.
270 bales. There you go. That's
There it is,
That's
yeah.
So it's a life safety
You
thing.
know, and that was, that was not intentional too. I mean, so,
Right.
I mean, we're still up against them.
Hardly anyone that they like 5 mile an hour.
We're gonna leave the stipulation in there where if you need to burn something, contact the chief thing like we had in before.
Yeah.
The only bad part about that is that puts pressure,
That gives them, they can go ahead and do it.
yeah, then they go after, then.
It's the chief's fault if they don't let them burn,
Yeah.
and that's not fair to the
And
chief.
so I don't know, I guess.
I just would like to just say it's a burn ban. You just can't burn.
Jerry, you showed us what's on the door of,
Actually, yes, I saw this down at Aces. It says the Dunlop Fire District is now in a burning ban, a burning ban until further notice. This includes the city of Dunlop and the Dunlop Fire District located in Harrison, Shelby, Crawford, and Monona
Yes.
counties. It's very
Yeah.
short to the point, and
Thank
it
you.
says
I was gonna
until
bring that
further notice.
Yeah, I heard,
We're pretty sure
I
I-
think there's 28 counties now in western Iowa that
I
are
just seen it on
bans.
last night.
And it's an absolute ban then.
I think it should be. I mean, I know I'm gonna get burned for it. No pun intended, but
Right.
I just really.
And you received a call from State Fire Marshal this morning?
Yeah, she
asking
called
if
and
we were
said, are
really
you gonna keep it going? It's pretty dry out. Yeah,
So the state fire marshal's office even thought we should.
yeah. And Dan was real good about, he called me yesterday to remind me to come up here, because I kind of forgot. And I
Well, it's
think
just
they were
unfortunate.
gonna put it on their Facebook, and I'll get it to the other newspapers and. Last man.
I have questions. Since Chris is here, what do you do about the people at the parks that want to put wood in their fire rings? Does that ban them from doing that also?
That's a control, well,
To
To be honest, we've never,
It's a recreational
we've
fire.
never stopped people during a burn ban when we having the fire rings or whatever. We're closed, then the water's off and stuff now, so there won't be any campers or very few.
Okay. That's good to
Have a
know. I
bucket-
just
have
had
a
somebody
bucket
ask
nearby.
that.
Yeah,
the other day, and
you're
I'm
right.
I did not know.
Yeah, we always just.
I guess leave it up to the fire chief, but like Dwayne says, it puts a lot of pressure on.
That's why they get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of under pressure.
I mean,
I don't know, I just, I want. I can see both sides, you know.
Yeah.
If you have a pile of brush that you need to burn, is it gonna matter if you burn it today or December 1st?
No, they ain't gonna matter one way or another on that way. No, I get it, it's,
But
So you're gonna extend
So-
it 2 weeks, or what are you thinking?
I just have until we decide, until canceled, November 1st until canceled.
Until further notice.
I would rather put a date on it so we can revisit it, we put
Address it
until, just keep it on our radar.
Do you want to put a date on it? Dan, when you. Well, you keep it, you just write down
November
what
1st,
they
what do you wanna
decide.
30 days, because we could
30 days.
get some rain.
Well,
So
yeah,
say
it was supposed to rain.
We could revisit it on the 6th
November 30th, December
or
1st.
do 28th,
Another,
29th.
Maybe we should get a bunch of rain.
Do the 29th.
Well, if we get a bunch of rain in between time, we can
lift it.
we can lift it. You know,
Let's put on until the 29th of November, that way we can
Okay.
revisit it at a.
And do you want to say then that it's a complete burn ban then, due to the drought? Due to the drought.
The wording says in
No
there.
exceptions?
just a burn
burn
ban.
ban.
Burn
in
ban.
effect
Burn ban.
until blah, blah,
Burn
blah,
ban,
And just
burn
leave it at that.
And there
It
is,
does say open.
there is a statute that the sheriff or whoever the authority is to use from the state fire marshal. There's a statute. Some lovely number.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
Trying to take official
Probably-
action
I
on
have one
that.
more
Nope.
question. Does this cover towns also?
They have their own ordinances.
Okay,
This
thank
is a
you.
county
This is unincorporated
burn
areas.
bans, and I think, I just think that the towns would be smart enough to.
Well, the only reason I asked is 2 doors down from my daughter, some
I
fellow
know.
started a fire and burned up his neighbor's shit. So I just wanted to know if we're governing that, or if the town should have
Town
governed that.
council should be
I
doing
think
that.
the town council
Okay,
should, in
thank
my
you.
mind, but then that's.
It's just as dry. as
We're
town.
making it
We're
complicated.
But I
for
just
the
want to
whole-
know who has
Yeah,
jurisdiction.
yeah, let's keep it at ease. It's the county. You're gonna have probably more fires out in the county with the cornfields and the bean fields than hopefully you would in town.
The ultimate goal is here, life safety and property conservation.
Yeah, yep, and yeah, keeping our firefighters safe and
Both residents and
And the
the
residents.
and the fire service.
Okay, so I'm sorry, we had a motion.
I don't think we had one
I
yet.
make a motion that we extend that till the 29th of
November.
I would second that.
Okay, no, we do.
Now we got a motion and a second to extend the burn ban till November 29th. Any further discussion? Here none will proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
there we go.
Maybe it'll rain Thursday and we'll start something that we haven't seen for quite some time.
Well, if you're talking, there's small chances throughout the weekend, didn't start on Thursday.
We're lucky.
Snow in Colorado. That's some pretty good pile there. Too.
All right.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, takes us to
Thanks,
our
Rich.
11:15 item. Discussion from county attorney, update on the McMenamy property. Colin?
Yeah, I would refrain from commenting too much. My office filed citations in violation of our right-of-way ordinance in Crawford County. At this point, it's open and pending litigation. I suppose I can give that update. I would refrain from saying too much more on this topic.
Okay, thank you.
That's the last time on the agenda, so I mean, we'll move into citizens input in Austin. I know you guys probably want to address the board, so.
Yep, well, as you guys know, we have our survey done, and as far as I know, our attorney is supposed to file it off to the county attorney. And that was supposed to have done last year sometime. Because when I called, I texted you July 12th last year, the O Avenue farming the right of way violation on south side of the road. You text me back saying to contact the county engineer's office. I called the county engineer's office. I spoke to the lady that works there. Never heard anything back. The survey that we had done showed that. Because you can see where the quarter corner is, the section corner is quarter corner, that road is not straight. So there is farming in the south side of the avenue there. And then you can see that, and I guess the discrepancy we're seeing, we have the survey done, and the county's gained ground from us too.
Was that? Say that again?
So when our survey was done, you can see where the county's gained land from us.
The county's gaining land, you mean like ditch?
You know, and I don't feel it's ever been verified by anybody coming out and looking.
How come we called the trustees to come out and they weren't allowed to come out?
We weren't allowed to.
No, we contacted Rhonda too, and she said that they weren't allowed to come out, because that's our township trustee, one of the members, her and Charlie Dale and the cigar parks.
She called in the courthouse and said, no, we can't come out.
You ever talk to anybody?
No.
And that was right around the time frame I texted you. And I think we could get in the property tax roll, depending on what specifics you look at. 40 along the road should be what, 39 acres? And there's 39.2, 39.4. There's some different legalities there too, I think.
I have a question as far as the township, is that in their wheelhouse that they should do that?
Fence line disputes are usually what township
Mhm.
trustees do.
Yeah.
And that's right in line with fence law.
Have we ever replaced Bando?
That's just what I'm thinking.
Oh, that's up to us to replace. All three of us signed up to. But some townships have had us appoint.
Right, reappoint people, but they,
I don't know about that
they
one.
I
need
don't
to
know
bring it
about
to
that
us, right?
township.
Sometimes.
They're an elected position.
And
Not
it's
all of them.
elected.
Not all.
So appointed by the township.
That's East Blue
East Louis Township, because it should have been Rhonda's Duke. I think it's Margaret Roy Cigar Park. Charlie Daniel passed away though.
Exactly.
If it's during that time, they'll appoint somebody, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have to check on that one.
Does anybody know how that works? I mean, this would be
In regards to,
the township representatives going out. Is that something that we should have?
If anybody wants to read, I printed off some papers on.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'd love to have
Yeah,
one.
I'd love to have it.
Who wants them first?
I'll take one and
It's just if they're all the same, or
I can go get copies too. I do know how to run a copy
Copies of it.
machine.
Yeah,
Do you guys want me to go make? a
yes,
copy
I
later?
would love to have one.
Copies or just the one?
They're the same.
No, they are.
You can't go that way.
I can't.
No.
No, go the other
Yeah.
way, please.
Township representatives. Yeah, for these three representatives, I have Rhonda Stewart, Charles Bando, Charles Boyd, and Dwight. I'm on our website.
Oh, they are elected.
Yeah.
they're
Oh, I mean.
elected, right?
It'll be on the ballot because it's got term limits on it.
Okay. So actually, yeah, yeah, well, it says Charlie Bando's term ends 24, so they need to.
We should have somebody on the ballot.
I think it might be.
Cool beans.
It's up to them to check. It's up to them to handle that.
All right, this copy for everybody and one extra in case somebody.
How about that?
We wanted a
They're
copy
different.
first.
Didn't it?
yeah, there, it was a 2-page deal there.
Now you guys tell.
You
me.
handed it. to me. You gave it back.
All right. I'll make a copy of this. Probably the most important part.
Yeah, that's got the one that's got the stuff. Thanks, G.
What's that?
This is what-
Thank
yeah,
you very much.
You can barely see the little highlighted mark there. Establishing a fence agreement, landowners disagree part is what you had highlighted, I believe, right?
Yep.
So,
That's probably still in the copy machine.
yeah.
That's right here.
You get it back?
Oh, she gave it back to you.
Yes, get back.
Yeah, landowner, typically, if I remember right, when I was a trustee and read my little book, their job is more to just, to help decide disputes when it's between property owners. And we're supposed to be, obliged by the 33-foot.
And this one here, fence along roadways is the other part.
That's
Yeah,
a long
lost.
way.
Highlighted.
There's no railroad out there. In that area.
Who's your attorney?
We have more houses, but if this goes further, we're gonna seek new counsel.
Okay.
Any other comments, Austin or Mike?
Well, I guess saying when we're reading the ordinance, I mean, to me, it's, the ordinances are kind of unclear in the state. Cause there's also the 99-2 for area service fee road maintenance ordinance. And it's kind of, it's like when you compare the two, it's like it's a double-sided standard. So inside the 99-2, shoulders will not be maintained on a regular basis. Repairs, there will be no road repairs on a regular basis. Uniform width or travel portion of the road will not be maintained. I've also a good one in there, but thought it mentioned something, that's in the other ordinance, the one that we're getting pushed on, roadway clear zone. Well, what's the roadway clear zone on the secondary road? Because depending on the slope of the road, the way the road's built, the clear zone could be irrelevant. And that was, that's 33 foot the way you read it on a secondary road.
I don't know the answer to that question right off the
Would
top of
that
my
be
head,
kind
but
of-
I think, I mean, we could probably, maybe next week, go into a closed session and discuss some of these things that you brought up in front of us.
Because,
Do it.
yeah, I'm just saying, the two ordinances overstep one another, they're on your website when you look at it, they don't really, they don't jive, so to say.
Anything else, guys, or anything? Like I said,
Yeah, I mean, that's everything we have for now.
thanks for coming in and stating your thoughts.
So,
Thanks for the
well,
information.
We'll stick to that litigation deal for now, because it just.
Gives us-
we can resolve something.
Yep.
I guess were you guys gonna come out and look at it, the road, and see the surveys and do some measuring? Because I feel that needs to be done, because when a person's just out here, oh, you're getting litigation.
You know, I've been out. looking
I
at it.
thought we've been out and looked at it.
I wanted to do it on my own, see both points of view
You know,
without being influenced by either side, so.
but I mean, just like reference, Denny Hebert's corner up there, that fence is 29 and 31 foot from the center line of the road. And that's been there forever. There's a new fence put in going to the east there from Denny Hebert's property. That's in the right of way. Granted, it might be partially temporary, but there's a flag right out on that campground that marks where 33 foot is. And it's not too far from where that fence ends, that you can see it clear as day.
Is there any way that we can, as a board, take Terry with us and go out there so we're all looking at it at the same time and getting the same information so that we don't singly have to go out and, you know, convene a board meeting out there? I mean, it's easier, I think, than to go singly or no, asking for suggestions.
I'm taking Colin's advice. I would rather see us move into a closed session to discuss some of these items. It might be the best way to approach this, Gene.
Okay.
How we move forward.
But I think it needs to be noted where because the surveys are right there, they're marked with flags, they're clear as day. You can see right where.
So noted.
Done with us then, for now?
You're done with us.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
with
much.
you guys.
Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys.
Okay, what do we have to next? Citizens input.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, we do have a couple.
Okay, I did call Chad with new co-op about diesel fuel.
Oh,
Okay. Very, very enlightening conversation. Okay. You know, because I asked the question too, you know, they said, well, down to 25-day, you know, supply of diesel fuel. Well, what does that mean? How does that compare to the norm? He said, we haven't had a 25-day supply of diesel fuel for over 3 years. So it's never been that high. Okay, yeah, for 3 years. He said, we're at 17 right now. And unfortunately, the media
he's back.
is creating a lot of it. So I asked him, I said, so tell me, what's going on? Okay, so let's first talk about the northeast part of the country. High usage of diesel, of that type of fuel for a variety of reasons.
Home heating and everything else.
Well,
They
you
get a lot
have
of traffic.
you have a lot of population as well, a lot of transportation. A lot of the refineries over the last several years have closed.
It's like 7 of them.
Because they weren't profitable. Okay, no, I mean, this is, you know, this is guy that's in the
Right.
industry, this has no political bias whatsoever, in my opinion, okay? This is just fact finding. Okay, so anyhow, because there was no money in it.
Right.
Okay, I mean, I was buying diesel, Gary, in 2020 for $1.20 a gallon.
And now
Okay,
it's,
people were losing money, they were bleeding, and so they closed. Okay, and I'm not saying that all happened at that particular time, but he said over time it's happened. There is no pipeline from the south to the northeast to supply them with the diesel fuel, okay? So they're importing from Europe. We are exporting from this country more diesel fuel, more fuel than we ever have. It's at record levels, okay? Now, why is that happening?
We're all set with Russia.
Because someone else is willing to pay more for the oil, for the product that we are. It's
More than
market
what
forces.
we are, yeah.
It's market forces at work.
Mhm.
The current refineries are refining 90% of capacity, okay, and they have it. And I mean, if you're making a product and supply is, you know, and demand is high and the market margins are good, you're gonna make as much of that as you can.
Yeah.
Okay, and he said, so currently we're making as much as we can, but a high percentage of it, record levels are getting exported to other countries because those other countries are willing to pay more for it. Okay, and the marketplace is trying to find its happy spot, okay? And its happy spot is either you increase production, and that doesn't happen overnight when you're building refineries, or you reduce demand. Okay. Now, his take was just like mine. He said, if we get into a situation where there's a crisis nationally, there will be someone stepping up and saying, we're going to restrict exports because we're going to take care of our emergency services. We're going to take care of our fire departments. We're going to take care of people here. I mean, that's purely speculation, but it's going to happen no matter what side of the aisle you're on. If we get to the point where we can't take care of our own because we're shipping it overseas and selling it at $1 a gallon more than we can sell it for domestically, we're going to make that correct. We're going to right that wrong. He said, there are shortages that occur. The Sioux City terminal, he said, we've had times where they've been completely out for a day. They've been completely out for a week. Okay, we manage that on a micro level. Same thing with some of the other terminals that they get their diesel from. He said on a macro level, there are shortages that happen, occur periodically.
Changes up,
Okay,
changes up in that area.
but the point is that it's market forces at work. Okay, and his comment to me was, don't panic. He said, I've been taking phone call, article after article. He said, the problem is the whole story isn't being told. Okay, and so there's plenty of diesel being produced. It's just going somewhere else because someone's going to pay more. No different than if you had a product that you were producing and you could get more for it somewhere else. Take your grain to an elevator. If I can get 25 cents more there versus there, I'm gonna take it there. That's just market forces. He said, you know, are there gonna be isolated areas? Probably, where there's gonna be issues. But again, if it looks like it's a national issue, someone's gonna step up to the plate and say, we're gonna make sure that we're taken care of. So this is an industry individual that I mean, it was interesting talking to him. Like, you didn't want to do his number, you can have the same conversation. But his advice is to anyone he talks to, don't pay.
No panic.
See, have a Fort Dodge or Hornet.
That's why they run out of toilet paper.
Yes. the toilet paper. Yep.
Yeah,
Maybe you don't even know where he's from. Is he out of Fort Dodge or is he out of Hornet or?
he's an outgoing. Yeah, he's an outgoing. Yeah, so,
My brother,
anyhow,
my brother says they're getting coal now. Their coal is back in and so's burning oil.
yeah,
And it's,
Yeah.
they're cracking the lids and hauling it out and there's excess amount of that. So
yeah.
that's gonna step in on that.
Yeah, and I don't know, because I don't know enough about things to really weigh in, but when somebody said, "Ever is it true that we're at a 30-day supply of diesel fuel?" I said, could very well be, but I don't know how that plays out. What's the norm?
Yeah,
He
what's
just
the
shared, he
normal?
said,
32 days. Supply, yeah.
oh, he said, we haven't been at 25 for 3 years.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you know, there don't get me wrong, he said, there are challenges, there are issues.
Can I ask you, I mean, did you ask him about, because I seen that on the news where they showed where it looked like there were 6 or 7 of these refineries that during the 2020, which when, I mean, our fuel consumption went probably into a third of what we normally use because everybody was at home. But, and trucks even quit moving because there wasn't any product to move. So, I mean, we had, and that was probably what created that price differential that you had to close these older refineries. But are they like, what happened to them? I mean, are they out there where we could
Bring back.
bring them back online?
I don't know that question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know the answer to
that would be the
question.
only other
But-
question
but,
I'd
I mean,
ask.
that would be a logical question to ask, you know, wouldn't it not make sense now that there's profit, then you would open up.
Yeah,
back
you
up?
want
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know how hard that
Or
is.
do you want to
There's
buy
a
out the,
certain situation where once they shut down,
Yeah.
to refire them back
Yeah,
up.
you
it's
know,
just-
the old rule of Peterson
Yeah.
was buy all the plants and shut as many down as you can so you can control the chain
So you
speed.
can control it. Yeah, well, we think John D. Rockefeller did, richest man ever to exist.
And so then we need a Teddy Roosevelt to step up and talk about
No reason to go.
our monopolies.
Yeah, so anyhow. You know, what I mentioned to you earlier, is we just stay the
Stay the
course
course.
and we're not on an island alone. Everybody's in the same boat as we are.
Okay, thank you for doing that.
Extra
And
research.
if anyone
appreciate it.
wants the name and the number for this gentleman, stop down.
All right,
Thank you much.
might
No,
need it.
no,
Thank
the
you.
other plus thing about it, I think diesel fuel is one of the first things on a refinery process that comes off.
Yeah, I don't know. I
You
can't
know,
answer
gas
that.
takes longer to refine than diesel fuel.
Kerosine's even higher.
But we do know this, everything we touch has to have diesel fuel.
Pretty much.
When that chair gets made, and when that chair gets delivered, or whatever it is, I mean, everything I do is impacted by the price of
Yeah.
diesel fuel. So global demand has created the price increase. And exports and shipping somewhere where they can make more money.
Thanks. I mean, I just didn't want to run out this winter again. you know.
I heard
I-
that.
I don't either. We
This is
use
the second time we've had this conversation in a
Yeah,
year.
and I don't want to dismiss it as being dismissive, but I truly believe. The toilet paper shortage is the classic example
Classic.
of a shortage that was a self-fulfilling prophecy. That started as some sort of a, social media, you gotta get toilet paper, because you're gonna get sick and you're gonna have to have toilet paper. If you don't, that's a problem. So if it goes off and buys toilet paper,
It was
there's absolutely no
crazy.
substitute at all. And it was created simply because of a social media friend.
Panic.
And a panic. And so sometimes, fact finding, in my opinion, is so important.
Oh,
And I don't want to be dismissive of the concern, because it's a huge concern of mine. Okay, from a number of angles, the price of diesel. But I don't know that there's a whole lot we can do about it. To try to monitor it and react accordingly. So,
Well, looking glass there.
yeah, I wish I knew, because I'd buy a lottery ticket and that.
Then you wouldn't have, then you wouldn't be worried about diesel fuel so much.
My mother always said, I don't use a lot of her comments, but she said, it's a good thing we don't know what tomorrow brings.
Yeah,
That's so true.
So, yeah. So,
just keep working. Thanks, Paul.
No, I don't talk to
Any other citizens input, Dwayne?
Quick, Sunday morning at about 1 AM, the American Energy advised us that Schleswig sub was down. So the communication site up there was off, or the power was off, it was off for about 10 hours. So you never know when animals in the line. So if you're gonna do a beaver bounty, you should probably do a raccoon bounty. But
Okay.
That's what happened.
That's what happened, the
Right.
raccoon shorted out that new
Right.
substation, that's about
Yep.
2 miles east of Schleswig, on the road to their new lagoon system,
Oh, yeah.
and shorted out a bunch of equipment there, and
Committed suicide.
yeah.
He should have called the hotline.
There was your hotline, Gene.
But that, sometimes we take for granted generators and making sure that they're operational and they're full of fuel, and you think, nothing will happen until you've had weather, so.
I think run for 10 hours up there roughly.
Never ran for 10 hours up, so.
They had enough to cover everything?
Pardon?
They got enough to cover everything in town?
No, that was
Generator
strictly at the
tower site.
communication site.
Just our
Okay.
generator on our tower.
Yes.
The Lutherans and what other church, they had to move their dinner till the night.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I come on about 10:30, 11 o'clock Sunday morning.
Whoa. Dan or Mike, do you guys have anything?
I assume Chris was sitting here for some reason.
Yeah,
He's
he's
sitting out in the hallway out there. Tell
on
him.
the phone.
Oh, okay.
He's
Yep.
coming back
Sure, I
soon.
thought that too, and I thought, why can't
Is he out here for the beaver stuff?
I thought
Missed
so,
the
but then he
beaver
stuck
talk.
around.
he was a bigger chat?
Maybe he's got an update on Nelson Park water.
Would that be nice? Good, a positive update.
Positive update would be
I
awesome.
did hear the Dow House thing was a nice event the other night. I had a.
Yeah,
Dinner with the Dows.
It looked like they had a good
I
time.
heard they had it was very nice.
In an ideal
that?
world, I could
And
make
they-
it to everything.
They sold out,
Who's that?
up at the Dow House, the Friends of the Dow House. had a
Must
little-
not have been that important,
I
huh?
can usually tell if he's in the building, so.
Chris has
How
left
could
the
you miss
building.
it? How could you miss it?
Huh.
Madam Auditor, anything? I will see if Tom wants to do a closed session next week or not, but
I think we should. I'd like to go out there with somebody that has a,
well, without,
I've been there, seen it.
I've been there and seen it, but I haven't been there and,
I think we just closed session be a place to talk about, because there's variables that would incur no matter how you look at it, so.
yes.
When were they originally in here? That was back in like March or.
Yes, last year.
Oh,
Last year.
Last year.
It's been a while.
issue is, did they farm too close or?
We had worked on that road.
Straighten the road.
We straightened the road, so when they had to go out and find the corner section corners. And then when you do that, you mark off your 33 each direction, and fence lines were out of sync.
They had an old fence line that was taken out, the new fence line where they were to put it in, and they didn't like the difference in the feet between where their fence was. They wanted to put it back in.
Right.
Part of it.
No, part of,
I think it was
Part of
all
it
out,
was stopped
when they went to
at
put a
that
new
point.
fence, they wanted it back where the old fence was, and
it's 2 feet for
And
about a
it
half a
wasn't-
mile. But then what happens is on the other
Am I
side of the
correct on
road,
that,
then,
Okay.
that's gonna get I think that's why we have to go into.
An old road that was established in the 1800s finally got upgraded, and there's dispute of where the fence should go back.
That's
You got
the
it?
simple
I
answer.
was just curious.
That's the,
Is he still out there on the phone? Do you know? Or did he?
I couldn't hear him anywhere in the building, so.
okay.
Okay.
He has left the building.
I mean, that's
Nothing
probably
else.
appears
I
to
can
me
call
from
it.
5 minutes.
Okay,
I'll call him, but
okay.
If it's about the water out there, that'd be neat to hear what he's finding out.
What is it now? 200,000?
Yeah.
Oh,
last I heard it was between 6 and 8.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
tired.
on that water line it from putting water to Nelson Park. Lovely.
Fingers, so that you're gonna have to
Ooh,
treat it.
went from just wanting a little more. to home.
So one of the things
Upgrade.
that just constantly comes to my mind
So you have to
is
treat
how
it
many
full
different
time,
agencies
it's
we have working on kind of the same
See,
thing.
if rural.
You know,
Oh, you mean family price?
Fence disputes for the trustees typically
Oh.
between landowners.
Okay. I still move to adjourn.
Really between the county.
Is there a second? Thanks, Eric. We've been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Well, you really fired right off with that second, I tell you what.
I'm not- I didn't know you know, I know everything about.
That was too fast.
So,
That was almost too fast.
Bridge and Amarillo Bridge,
Almost.
there was no sports in it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I didn't have anything particular. I was just here for the beer thing.
Oh,
To see if-
thanks, Chris.
Yep.
See you tomorrow night.
Sorry to disappoint you, Chris.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, though.
So it's basically what I told Austin is it's going in the right direction.
To the
Sometime this next week, I can tell you
Just
my
use it
secret.
Your secret?
Yeah, my secret.
You have a secret?
Hey, Kyle,
You're not a
there's a
baby?
forum tonight.
Oh.
Put that on.
It has some
But
stuff
the-
that.
I just got an email, that's why.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because of months.
Oh,
Region 12.
I told you, I called there yesterday.
Yeah.
All the.
My quick
Wow.
question is.
We're gonna hit
this,
7.5 million.
Does anybody know the dollar amount
We're
on this?
overturning.
Wow.
And then you have to do it 3 times.
I wanted to ask, but I didn't want to know.
It becomes yours and you don't check
That's
it.
right to me, Jeff.
We can do anything.
What's,
We can go out and charge
I
whatever we
looked this
want.
over and I'm like, really?
Last call for coffee?
Double L. Told them
I'll take
that
this
they were
in
gonna
so she
have
doesn't-
every little thing, you know, where's the cameras that are in the lobby now? Where are they? Why can't they just come over? Why? Doesn't this seem like we're just making, so,
Is that Jake's?
yeah.
Not my circus, not my monkey.
Well, somebody's got to take control over the circus. There's no way.
Control over the circus. That
You know
is-
what, you know what,
that is control over the circus. That's what we wait for, but I don't know if I shut this off or not. I
our
did.
receiver